When did the first offer come in to buy the company?
It was when your alternative is death. Your body goes into survival.
So you were literally thinking of suicidal thoughts?
If Hera didn't work, I wouldn't be here. I was the most driven, relentless fucking person you'll ever meet. Like, nothing was getting in my way from making this thing work. Like, I don't know what it was. I've never experienced it ever again in my entire life.
How long till you hit like your first 100k in sales? If you were going to give some key bits of advice then in terms of how to keep the leverage in your hand as an e-com brand owner for as long as possible, what advice would you give?
Gymshark put that offer and was like, we don't want to waste time, just give us a yes or no, we're not interested if, you're going to potentially looking at other offers, like just like take it or leave it sort of thing. To this day, I was like, that was the deal. That I should have taken that Gymshark deal.
So that together we have clarity, direction, and success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
First things first, guys, before we get started with this podcast, do me a solid favor and subscribe to this on whatever platform you're listening to it right now. Whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I'd appreciate if you just hit that subscribe button, and it lets me know that the content that I'm putting out for you guys is hitting your ears at the right time. Much love. This podcast is sponsored by ContentRemoval.com. So whether you're looking to remove any images, videos, search results, fake Instagram accounts, get in touch with us at ContentRemoval.com. Welcome back to the Frankie Lee podcast. Today, guys, we have another absolute barnstorming episode, a never before heard story. And I tell you now, this is a story that I've been wanting to get out to the world on a podcast for a long time. I have the founder here, the original founder of Hera London, as it was known back then, who scaled the business from 0 to 33 million in revenue over its full time. The man, Ash White, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, mate. Cheers for having me.
Mate, welcome. Ash, you have been on one hell of a journey in e-commerce.
Yeah.
That is an understatement.
Yeah, it's been mad.
It's been a mad one.
Yeah.
Give me for the audience, like, because I've got an audience all over the world now.
Yeah.
Just to give them a bit of context. When did you start on your entrepreneurial journey, and how did that kind of come about for you?
Yeah, so it was 2014. I went to Liverpool University, wanted to be a PE teacher. So I went there, and then I had a girlfriend at the time for 12 months, my first proper relationship sort of thing. And then went to Liverpool University, kept coming back to Cheltenham to see my girlfriend and stuff. And then I stuck at university for about 3 months, and then I just dropped out because the work was just like, because I was like at school, like bottom set school, just tried in the last 6 months really just to scrape GCSEs to get into Hartby College. Went to Hartby College to do sport BTEC degree to be a PE teacher. Did that and then took a gap year and then just literally worked on my local co-op just to make money for a year. And then even with that, like even before, I'd have 2 jobs. I'd work at the co-op, then I'd be at the co-op at like 5 a.m. to clean as a cleaning job, do the cleaning to make more money, and then I'd work behind the till at the co-op.
So was your mindset back then just to like have all these jobs to kind of stack cash because you knew that there was something else that was
make more money, because like I could clean the co-op for an hour and the pay would be really good. So I'm like, well, I might as well get up at 5, do that, make more money, because I was saving up for a car. So I wanted to get like a Renault Megane car. So I had to save $2,000 to like get that car. So I just worked loads. And even like around school, like I was at 14, I didn't get given money. I always had to work. So like, doing pot washing jobs down the pub and stuff every night. So I was always like, had to work for my money sort of thing.
So in regards to your family background, was your family like a middle class family in England? Were they
just normal, just like they had normal jobs? We lived on a council estate. But it's just normal life like that. I knew nothing different. I still know nothing different really. Like it's just you grow up there, you just play football on the the green or whatever with your mates, and you go to a normal school. Like it's just a normal sort of background.
and was there ever a point then where you thought to yourself, do you know what, I aspire to more than what this?
Nah, it wasn't. No, because I didn't mind that. I don't care about that life. It's just like that's normal to me. Like I didn't really aspire to make loads of money and stuff. It was the catalyst, the turning point was going back to the university thing. I dropped out of university after 3 months and I come back to Cheltenham. And then I ended up getting a job at Vodafone. And then my girlfriend broke up with me at that time. And then it caused, like, for me personally, just like gigantic depression. Like, I know it sounds stupid now saying, why are you getting depressed over a girl for? But like for some reason, and I never went through depression prior to that before, so it was like completely new. So when that happened, it was like almost like complete cut off, and then I didn't know. I'd have been 19 at the time, so like, I didn't know how to handle that situation. Like, you've gone from seeing someone every single day to being your best friend sort of thing. I didn't really have many friends because I isolated myself to be in like that.
The relationship, yeah.
You put all your eggs in like that relationship because you just want to spend so much time with them. So like, you know, I didn't know how to handle it. So, you know, looking back, it was almost like grieving almost, because like they've disappeared. You're not seeing them ever again sort of thing. So I was like, looking back, it's probably like that. It's probably like a grieving process of like, fuck, how do I even, you know, I used to wake up like thinking like, fuck, I just feel so, I was completely fucked, like completely lost. This went on for like months. Like had to go to the doctor, so like, I'm suicidal. Like, this is bad.
And this was all because
breakup.
When she broke up with you, she didn't give you any reasoning as to why they were breaking up.
It was harsh.
It was just a
clean cut, savage.
And it's probably your first clean cut.
That was my first ever girlfriend, like proper relationship, and it was like clean cut. But when you're also like, you know, you're not the one who wants to break up, and you didn't have the control over, you know, the breakup was like, and then you still want to be in the relationship, but they don't, sort of thing. Clean cut, and then that was it. And then I had to like kind of handle it myself. And then, yeah, it's just fucking hard because like I remember it. I even like really like looking back and thinking about that sort of thing. Like, I used to do strange things. Like, I used to like have to like leave the house and just drive in my car and listen to the radio, and that would somehow make me feel slightly happy for a moment. And then even watch Netflix comedies, like stand-up comedians, just to like get some
some joy in your life.
Yeah, and I used to like literally sleep. Like, I used to, in the day, like when I wasn't working, I would have to go to bed, and I'd rather be asleep than be awake in my own head, because it was that bad. I was like,
how did you go on to like break the pattern of doing that?
I remember the exact day. Like, it was just like, I was at my parents' house, no one was in, it was like in the afternoon, and I just broke down into tears, like just full on. I just looked at myself in the mirror, like in the living room, just complete fucking mess. I was like, what the fuck? Why the fuck have I put all my happiness and stuff in this one person, sort of thing? Like, and I just remember from that point, it was like, I'm never going to let this happen again. I'm just going to focus on myself, stop being a fucking idiot, and just, you know, focus on yourself. And I just literally made 2 goals, and the first goal was to join a gym and just get in the best shape of my life, which was the number 1 goal. And then the second goal was to start a business. And then I wrote those 2 goals down on a piece of paper, and then I made a rule in my head, like from that day. I was like, whenever I have a bad thought about, whenever I think about the relationship, or whenever I think of like being down stuff, I was like, focus on, I used to literally say those 2 goals out loud in my head, like gym, start a business. And I use that as a coping mechanism, as like hope sort of thing, to like really just focus on that, put all your mind into that, don't question the thoughts in your head about that stuff, block it out, and just fully focus on those 2 things. And that's how I literally got out of that. But I didn't get out of depression for over a year. Like, I was still dealing with that whilst doing this, but that's where I got all that drive from, because you have to understand, like, when I was in that position, suicidal, at the very bottom, my life was waking up in, you know, your parents' house. I'd wake up, go to work at Vodafone, had no money, and like, I was in overdraft from university, skint. And because I started a gym routine with Lewis Harrison, who I phoned up. I remember phoning him. I was like, bro, girlfriend's broke up with me. I need to get the best shape of my life. Fucking sort me out. And then he still remembers the phone call, could still speak to him. So it was just like, and it was like, yeah, right, we're going to get you in the best shape of your life. Here's your diet plan. Here's your gym. And that would be my routine. And it helped me loads by cleaning up my diet, improving yourself, going to the gym, releases endorphins and stuff. I remember my first gym session, I had to leave because I was literally breaking down in tears. And I remember the exact machine I went on for my first exercise on lat pull down, just thinking, right, this is the start of my new life now. And it was just so weird, just like, that's where it like all started, sort of thing, like the transition. And then, yeah, just focus on the gym. And then literally just started on the business side of things. But prior to this, like how I come up with the jeans and stuff, like whilst I was in that relationship at Liverpool, I would wear women's skinny jeans, like from Topshop and Jack Wills. Like, they did really good women's skinny jeans, because you couldn't buy these jeans, these Jamie jeans, whatever, for men. And I was in Top Man. I was just like, why the fuck aren't you just making these jeans, which everyone wanted? I knew they wanted it. Like, they wanted skin tight jeans, which were like very skin tight to the ankle, and you just couldn't buy them anywhere. And I know like a lot of people, even at university, were wearing girl skinny jeans because you just couldn't buy them.
Isn't it amazing how something that sounds so simple on the outside it's mad that you formulated this whole brand off something that, to me, I couldn't see it, but I'm saying it does seem so simple when you say it back to yourself.
It's because like brands like Arcadia and Top Man and stuff, they're so big, they don't see the little niches because they're so big and they're making so much money. Sometimes they miss these little gaps. Yeah. Whereas someone like myself or someone, they can spot something.
But before we go on to that, I just want to go back. Do you think that the pivotal moment for you was when you drew the line in the sand and wrote those 2 goals down? Is that the pivotal moment for you? Because when things started to really change, because you wrote 2 goals on a piece of paper, and I think then and there you put a line in the sand and said, "Do you know what? I'm not going back over this."
It was anger, and it was like fuck this, like, because I watch YouTube videos a lot, so I was watching like Z's videos, Australian bodybuilder. His outlook on life completely helped me out and changed the way I thought, and just like. It changes your mindset to like stop being a fucking idiot and stop being a little bitch. Like, just grow up and like your life's not over. Like, just focus on yourself, get in the gym and just, carry on, sort of thing. And I was watching, I can't remember the exact time frames of it, like in terms of like at what point did I start watching these motivational videos. It must have been around the same sort of time where I'd watch like Eric Thomas, Conor McGregor videos, where he'd do it. I remember he did an interview with Ariel in Ireland, and he'd talk about like, visualization and all this stuff. And Will Smith was the first guy I started watching on YouTube, and the stuff he says is just fucking nuts. Like, the way his brain thinks and the stuff he comes out with is just insane. Like, if you really go into YouTube videos, type in like law of attraction, visualization, and all the stuff he talks about, it literally rewired the way my brain thought, and it made me believe that anything is possible. Like, I will show my kids his videos, like in the future and stuff, because it's so powerful. I still watch his stuff now. Like, it's so powerful, like the way he thinks and the way he can actually train your mind to believe that anything is possible. And I genuinely did believe that anything was possible, and so I had like ridiculous amounts of self-belief that anything was possible from watching all this stuff. And then I had the depression, which was luckily, and I'm thankful for it, in terms of like, it went the other way for me in terms of like, it actually drove me to, I was probably in survival mode. Like, your body does weird things. Like, when your alternative is death, your body goes into survival.
So you were literally thinking of suicidal thoughts?
If Hera didn't work, I wouldn't be here now. Like, genuine.
Really?
Yeah.
You were that deep?
No, I know that was the answer. Just like, and it was like, if this does not work, but the way my mind thought in that moment is like, I always knew that this would work. Like, I knew, I don't know what the fuck it was. I just knew that this was my way out, and I knew that this was going to work. I didn't know how. I just knew it was going to work. So.
And was that your first real solid idea?
Yeah. To be honest, it's funny. Like, looking back, actually, like, I was always entrepreneurial. Like even like the whole school thing, like actually mates selling sweets and all that stuff. I did all that, and then my parents. I remember this one year, must have been like 10 or 11. I don't know how old it was, but I wanted to watch WrestleMania with my mate, and they're like, "We're not buying that. It's 25 quid or 20 quid." So I was like, "Oh!" So I literally, off my own back, went out with my mate, knocked on doors, and then cleaned a couple of cars, and then come back with the 20 quid to watch WrestleMania, so we could watch WrestleMania. So it was like, I always had those tendencies in me from a young age without knowing what it was. I was always sort of into making money. So that was my first like proper business idea in terms of like, a proper sort of business sort of thing.
So when you stood there in the shop looking at these skinny jeans that you're now wearing, and you know that there's a need in the market for it, how did you kind of formulate that into taking action on this idea in terms of like, how did you put it all together?
So that's a very good question. So basically what I did is in my own head, I was like, right, you're in your bedroom, you got a laptop, just don't overthink and complicate shit. Think fucking logically. Pretend it's a school project. So I was like, right, get a keynote out. What do I logically need? If I had a gun to my head, what do I logically need to get this thing actually brought to life, sort of thing, from nothing? So I was like, right, I need to find a factory to make the jeans. I need a website built. I need, X, Y, and Z. I just listed it. And then I was like, okay, started Googling stuff, found the supplier from Top Man, managed to dig deep enough and then find the exact same factory they make their Jamie jeans with. And then contacted them, started phoning people, speaking to them, spoke to Shopify website builder in Birmingham, so I need to build a website, spoke to them, set up a meeting, found a denim jean supplier in Birmingham. And I was doing all this, but prior to this, I was like, right, I need to actually make the money first. So I was like, how am I going to even afford to do this? So before I did all that, I went to Barclays Bank and set up a business meeting. I was like, right, I want to start this jeans brand. So they're like, right, we need to obviously know how much this is all going to cost. Here's a business plan. Tell me how much it's all going to cost line by line sort of thing. So that's why I then went away and thought, right, I need to speak to all these people to get the costs and stuff. So then I went away took about 6 months, found a factory in Birmingham. So drove down to Birmingham. I just literally, I think it's the first time I ever went on a motorway. So I was like scared. I was like, shit, I didn't even have a sat nav. So I was like, I'm out of my comfort zone. like it's going down the fucking motorway at like 90.
Was this in you, McGann?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell a single person what I was doing for an entire 12 months. Like no one knew. Like my parents didn't know, brother, best friend, no one. Not a single person.
I think that's a smart move.
Not a single person. And then I went to, so I drove down the motorway, pulled up into this industrial estate in Birmingham, knocked on his door and stuff, and he was like, he probably just thought, like, what the fuck? Like, just a kid in McGann, 19, like, what the fuck, sort of thing. And so I just blagged it pretty much. So, like, look, I've got the money behind me, got like 20, 30 grand. I want to make 600 pairs of jeans. Would you help me make the sample and we'll do it? I've got, I want Gas from Jewelry Short is going to be big. I've got all these, I know I want to go down the whole Instagram road and stuff, and, it's going to be good. So eventually it was like, yeah, right, we'll make you a pair of jeans and stuff. I had to pay like a couple £100 or whatever out of my salary and stuff to make the sample. So then he spent 6 months making the sample. I had to speak to the ISCO denim people to send the fabric I wanted to Birmingham so he can make the sample. Then we spent 6 months making the perfect sample. So I'd go back to Birmingham, try them on. I was like, yeah, this is perfect. This is the one, sort of thing. And then it was like, okay, great. Well, this is how much it's going to cost to make these jeans. It was like,
do you remember the cost per pair back then?
Fucking expensive. It was like £25.
Yeah,
which is a joke. Like, but that's why people don't manufacture in England, because it's just so expensive, unless like you're in sweatshops in Leicester or whatever.
Shout out to Leicester.
Yeah, which is not good. I've never used them, to clarify. But so obviously, we ended up going to Turkey eventually. But £25 a pair, which is so expensive. That's why I originally had to price the jeans I think they were like £90 when I launched them, because like to get a half decent margin sort of thing. And I didn't even, to be fair, it wasn't even based on margin, because I didn't know what margin was. I just wanted it to be more higher end.
Yeah.
And then
which I think in the initial period, because I remember back in the day that the jeans were like £90 to £100 a pair when they first came out. But that sets an expectation for what your brand's going to deliver.
Yeah. And then so they made the jeans. That was the bill. I think it was like 10 grand maybe to 8. I don't know the exact cost of making it, 8 to 10 grand, for example. And then I went to the website design people. They're like, right, it's going to cost you 2.5 grand to make this website. And then I spoke to Gaz from Jewelry Shore's manager, because he started a brand called 11 Degrees with the owners of that. So I was like, I saw 11 Degrees on Jewelry Shore. I was like, fuck me, this is so clever. Like, they just literally brought their own clothing brand out. It's got 11 on it. He's promoting it all over Jewelry Shore. I was like, this is so genius. So I was like, I knew like the Six Silks, like the original people, Jim Kings, like these bedroom brands were all coming up at the same sort of time I was, and Six Silk was slightly earlier. So I knew that market was like, I want to get into that market. I know it'll work. And then that's why I was like, from day one, Gaz from Jewelry Shore has to be the face of the brand. And I use influence marketing in my business plan before we even launched in 2014. And then I spoke to Gaz.
Was it even called influencer marketing then, or was it?
Nah, it wasn't called anything. It was just like it wasn't even a thing. Like I'll go into like influence marketing in a bit, like the stuff behind it. But so I spoke to Gaz's manager. Originally, it was like, no, it's not for us, sort of thing. I was like, oh fuck, and I kept going back. I kept emailing. It's like, just please think about it. I promise you, it doesn't clash with 11. Because I had to convince him it doesn't clash with 11 Degrees. Like, bro, it's just denim. You don't do denim. I was like, let's do something. Eventually, I remember it took about a few weeks for him to really come back and get on the phone again. And I remember I stood at Vodafone on the shop floor at the front, and my phone started ringing. It was his manager. I was just fucking walked out the shop. I didn't ask anyone, just walked out. I went to the post box where the corner is and just picked up the phone on my mobile. And then he said, "Oh yeah, right, I've got the all clear. Gaz has agreed to do it. I'm going to send you over the 12-month agreement later on." I was like, "Okay, sick, perfect." But then I was like, "Fuck, I still don't have any money." So I was like, the invoices were stacking up at this point. So I was like,
"What was the invoice for that?"
I think it was like $2,000 a month. I think
that's not even that bad.
No, but this was.
But I suppose when you don't have any money, yeah.
But again, like, you know, I went home. I put my name on the contract. I signed it. I was like, I've just entered into a 12-month agreement for $24,000 to put my signature on it with no money. But because I spent ages convincing him to do it, if I turned around and said, "Oh, I don't have any fucking money," he's putting the phone down, and then that deal's done. So I signed it anyway, and just because like I said, it comes back to that hope thing. I was like, I always knew I'd get the money somehow. It was all going to fucking pan out. It didn't even cross my mind, like, you know, what if? I always just
what is it though that gave you that so much deep belief?
It was just depression. I was just like, I've never experienced anything like it in my entire life. Like that 12-month period, I was the most driven, relentless fucking person you'll ever meet. Like nothing was getting in my way from making this thing work. Like I don't know what it was. I've never experienced it ever again in my entire life. So it was just ridiculous amounts of drive, and it was hope, and you know, you had no other fucking choice. So you work a lot harder naturally when, you know, the alternative is horrible. God, yeah. And you're not, and when you're in a relationship and stuff, you get comfortable, and like when you're comfortable, you don't want to push your mind and your body don't want to go into uncomfortable places. So like I was pushed into so many uncomfortable places where I was just living. Like that 12 months I was actually achieving stuff, living, and like pushing myself to the absolute limits and stuff. Like if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't be doing any of that shit. There's no chance.
So would you say then one of the key things for any entrepreneur to be is always in a more uncomfortable position than what they potentially could be, so to give them that push?
It's hard though, because like when you're in comfort, like it's hard to seek not being comfortable. Yeah, it's difficult. Like it's really hard. But like I said, I was just lucky that, you know, I was just forced into this sort of like area sort of thing where I was just forced to do it. So then obviously I went back to the bank and stuff, and then I was like, right, here's the plan. Here's all the fucking money. I need $25,000. It's all ready to go. Let's go. And then they were like, yeah, nah, like, you know, we're not giving you the money sort of thing. Like, you need a proper plan and all this stuff. So then they sent me a thing to go and speak to Virgin Startup Loans. And then I spent a couple of months with a woman there to like help me, you know, do my business plan and stuff. To get a loan from Virgin Startup Loans, which with Richard Branson. And then spent ages doing that. And then they declined it. I've still got the email from them actually, just saying like your Ash's projections are ridiculous, like completely unrealistic, and all this stuff. And which I think
even inspired you more, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even walking out of like all of the business, like the bank meetings and stuff, I was like, you know, it didn't faze me in the slightest. I was like, you know, fuck you, sort of thing. I was like, I honestly don't care, sort of thing. I always find the money, sort of thing. So yeah, and then. I literally reached a point where everyone was like hounding me for the money. It was like, right, Ash, we need the money. So I was like, Virgin is saying no, got no bank. I was looking at online for any way of getting $25,000, and even fucking Wonga loans or whatever. Just
Wonga, I remember them.
Yeah, just whatever. Just like, do they do it?
Yeah,
just anyone. And then because I was really angry, because I was like, I just wanted to do something for myself where I didn't have to involve anyone, and I just wanted, because my parents at the time, like, very different people, like. You know, I'd go home after work and I'd go straight to my room, sort of thing, and just stay in there and just focus on my work, because we just think differently, sort of thing. Like negative mindset, and I'm not negative. I was like, I remember briefly. She hates me for saying this, by the way, because I won't bring it up. But there's this moment where I was like in the kitchen. I briefly mentioned something as a hint. I was like, this is what I'm doing, and then she just said like, get your head out of the clouds. Sort of thing. So I was like, fuck, like, you know, like, but I get it, because it's an old mentality, and it's like, yes, it is like very extreme sort of thing.
Have you ever heard about the ant, the ant in the glass box, so to speak? You know, it'll only jump as high as the ceiling, or,
exactly.
or grasshopper. Yeah. It'll only jump as high as the ceiling. I had this. My mum and dad are very like middle class people. Worked hard, got nice homes, nice things, few different things. But like I've got bigger aspirations than that, and it's hard to not judge your mum and dad for their things. But yeah, so I feel what you're going through because I know how hard it is to do that.
And at the time when you're like 19, you're just fucking angry anyway. Sort of thing. Like,
you think the world owes you something.
Yeah, and just like, it's because like I spent a year honestly watching the Will Smith videos on repeat for, I know the words inside out. Like, it's just like constantly brainwashed by it. And like, you know, even the stuff he said, which is like all about like belief and self-belief and stuff, like there's tactics, the stuff he says, like, you know, like, I can't remember like exactly what he says, but in terms of like, you know, back in the day when someone walked into a room and thought you could switch a switch and a light would pop on. Like, imagine hundreds of years ago if someone said that's possible. Like, no one would believe it's possible. Or like bending a piece of metal and flying it into the air and you fly people over the fucking ocean. It's like, if you really, and I used that as like things like, okay, I used to imagine things like, imagine if I was put in charge of building a skyscraper or a building or a rocket like Elon Musk or whatever. Like, that is fucking hard. How hard's my clothing brand? Actually, it's not that difficult, and it's possible, because if people have already done it, like, there's clothing brands that exist, so it's possible. A human's done that, so I know it's possible. So I think people, like, they just tend to, like, put, like my parents, for example, if you believe it's not possible, then you're right, it ain't possible in your own mind. But the people who believe it is possible because they believe in it. So it's just like, if you remove that belief from your own mind, then the fucking sky's the limit sort of thing. But it's all down to your own mind. And you can be called delusional and stuff, but you have to be slightly delusional. Like, you have to be. Because
obviously, with ECOM, and ECOM's such a like a popular vehicle for a lot of people these days to make money. In your mind, you're always building a brand.
Yeah. Right?
Obviously, there are different ways of doing it. You can do dropshipping, you can do this. But from your point of view, is it always about building brand from day one?
It's from like the very start, it's difficult. Because you're not even, if they're starting from like the very start, they don't know what they don't know, sort of thing. So like, you kind of just like, right, I'm starting a business. There's so many fucking things involved. Things are flying around everywhere. You're trying to figure it out and just go along and stuff. So yeah, brand plays a part in it, but you're also focused on how to actually monetize this and actually start to make sales, sort of thing. So like, for me, from my perspective, like, yes, I was looking at brand because I realized I needed Gas from Jewelry Shores from day one to be the face of the brand, because it stood out. Like, if I launched with my best mate or one of my friends just to put a pair of jeans on, doesn't have that same connection.
Doesn't have the appeal, yeah.
Does it? Fuck. Like, it's just like, who's that? Like, nobody. It's just like, in terms of like being known. But if you get it on a celebrity back then, he's got 2 million followers on Instagram. It's like, well, all of a sudden, your brand stands out from the rest. And that's what, you know, played a big part in the early success, for sure.
Do you think then that, obviously, a lot of people out there that are trying to start then in e-commerce should just start and not worry about whether it's a brand, whether it's dropshipping, but just start and learn the tech, go and find some suppliers, just try and throw a bit of stuff at walls, because they might not have the clearest vision then that you had at the start, but they can. But it's all about action, isn't it?
The best advice I get is start with as little as money as possible. Like, you don't do stuff fancy, you do it as on the bare minimum. Don't start a website, sell stuff off Instagram, like, until you start seeing money coming in. Because I've heard stories like, people speak to me and stuff, I've spent 25 grand, 30, 40 grand and it's made no money. I was like,
you'd have known that on the first £1,000 if you'd done it the way that you said.
Do it slow. Just like, I know it's counterproductive because I didn't do it that way, but it's a lot different. It's hard because, like, it's hard to say, like, how do you start? Because, like, when I did it was like, my plan was, okay, I need to make the stock, I need gas. This comes to £25,000 sort of thing, and then I'm sat here saying do it for as little as possible. But it's also hard to try and find like a lot of money.
Yeah,
and there's gigantic risk. Like, I could have spent the 25 grand, it might not have worked.
Well, the hardest thing is the fact that, because you took out, I think you said you took out a loan, didn't you?
No, so it comes to the point where, like, I just couldn't get the money from anywhere. So then I sat my parents down. I was like, look, I've been doing this for 12 months. I've showed them all the work. I was like, look, this is 6 Silk, they're doing this. 11 Degrees doing this. I've got Gaz agreed. I've spent, these are the jeans I've made. I've done this for 12 months. I need 25 grand. And they were like, fuck off. like any parent would. Like, it's like, you know, if you're a kid listening to this, go and ask your parents for 20 grand to see what they say. Like, they're saying no. And they didn't have the money. Like, they were just like, look, Ash, where do you think we're going to magic 25 grand from? Like, we don't have it. And I was like, and I knew they didn't have it. So, weeks went by. I've worked on my mum a lot more because I knew she was like the one to get to sort of thing. So like to try and convince her, and then she would convince Dad, which is the stricter one. So yeah, spent weeks just convincing her as much as I can. And then I remember a couple of weeks later, they both sat me down in the living room, and then they said, you know, look, Ash, like, you know, I can't believe we're doing this, but we've remortgaged our house. So they remortgaged their council estate house, and then yeah, they got the 25 grand.
That's some big balls. That
they still now can't believe they did it. Like, they did it, and then then they gave me the 25 grand to start and pay everyone.
How much pressure did you feel knowing that your mum and dad had just remortgaged the house?
Zero, because I knew it would work. Like, genuine, and that's not me.
Really?
Yeah, that's not me being arrogant, sitting there like, oh, I'm God's gift. It was the drive I had from. You got to remember, I like to spend 12. Who honestly would spend 12 months in my mindset and mind frame of being depressed, working at Vodafone, having no money, a 12-month period of actually believing that, you know, I'm going to do all this work, I've got no fucking money, where am I going to get 25 grand from, what's the point?
Yeah.
99.9% of people wouldn't have even done that process of like having the self-belief to even know I'm going to get to the stage of getting to the point where you can ask for money. Because, you know, if I did it the other way around and said, Mum, Dad, I need 25 grand, I'm going to start the process, 0% chance that this Hera would have existed.
But they've seen your hustle.
Because I've done it, I've put in the work for 12 months behind everyone's backs, and they knew I went to every bank. I went to all these places, like, I didn't even want to come to you. I've done everything I possibly can. I owe money to these people, you know. So I've put the work in first, and that was the difference. I can tell you now, if I didn't do that first, there's zero chance Hera would be able to, because it wouldn't have happened. Like, it was because you've done the work first, then they're like, okay, maybe, you know, we've got something here, we'll sort of do it. So once you got that money, was that money used to pay the first 2 months first few months for gas? Yeah, so paid gas like the first month, $2,000 or whatever for the shoot and stuff, and then paid for the jeans, and then website being built. To be honest, I didn't need 25 grand. I wasted a few grand at least, or $5,000 on stupid PR companies, which just like was so unnecessary. So yeah, that's kind of.
And were you driving all sales at that point through organic?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. So luckily, because in the contract and stuff, well, first when it was quite funny. So like when we did the first photo shoot with Gaz, because I watched Towie and Joy Shaw back then. I found out Mario Falcone from Towie, his girlfriend was a model, and you could book her.
Right.
So I booked Mario's girlfriend at the time to model with Gaz from Joy Shaw for my photo shoot, because I knew it would like cause fucking drama like in the press. But it went bad because Mario was at the shoot as well. He arrived with the girlfriend. It all kicked off at the shoot. It was like, you know, you're not shooting and stuff. Like, ain't fucking happening. They disappeared in the car for like an hour or 2 hours driving around, and then we were like, well, are we shooting or what? And then luckily Gaz at the time, they drove off and didn't even like tell us and stuff. They just left the shoot, and I was like, fuck, this is my first ever shoot. Got no model. We just got Gaz, and then luckily Gaz
and this is all just because Gaz would be standing next to his girlfriend.
Yeah, like what
were you asking them to do?
The shoot was very like, it looked like a Calvin Klein ad. Like the way I wanted the brand back then, it was like, she's in your underwear, he's got his top off with his jeans on, and it was like black and white, like very Calvin Klein sort of brand image back then. So, and then Gaz was like, look, I've actually got a new girlfriend I'm seeing at the minute. There's no images of us being released yet. We've done a deal with like OK Magazine or whatever, but they haven't been released. So I'll ask, and she does modelling and stuff, so I'll ask her if she wants to come down. So then she luckily come down and did the shoot with us. She was in London, so we did the shoot with Lily instead of Mario's model girlfriend. But that was my first experience at a shoot. It felt like an episode of Towie, to be honest.
It was, wasn't it? Like, it was drama from the time drama from the time you got in there.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously you used all their photos on all the branding across the whole website. So you've now got your Shopify store. It's fully branded with photos of Gaz and this, that, and the other. Yeah. Like, what do you just like? Did you just launch as soon as it went?
So it launched about a couple of weeks later, once everything, like, we've got all the images and stuff, and then Gaz, it launched at like 9 o'clock when Geordie Shore was on, I think. And then Gaz did his first post on Instagram. And then we sold literally one pair of jeans at launch. So like one pair we sold in total.
But I bet that one pair that you sold then, obviously that's your first ever sale online. You're like, fuck, well that proves the concept at least.
It went worse than I thought. I thought it was just going to be like a lot more than that, because I was like, oh fuck. And then it was like, that period was kind of like tough. Like doubt did slowly start to seep in your mind. Like, you know, was I delusional into thinking all this stuff like for so long, like sort of this sort of stuff. But then, you know, Gaz started posting, was like more regularly for us. Like it was like, oh, can you do? They were doing us favors. Like the management and stuff helped me out loads. Like in the early days, like they were like, well. Because whenever he did a post, like, the catalyst was when we actually lowered the price point. Like, we managed to lower the prices, so we got the jeans down to about £55, and then that made a gigantic difference. Like, from going from, I think when I launched, it was like actually £120 for a pair of jeans. Yeah. But then when we got the price down to like 50, 55 sort of thing, then we started to get way more sales. And whenever Gaz used to post when the jeans were 50 quid, then we'd make a lot more sales and stuff and drive a lot of traffic. So yeah, it just started to take off from there. And then, you know, the Geordie Shore lot was on Geordie Shore, and then they were stealing Gaz's jeans from his suitcase and stuff, and they were wearing all his jeans. And Gaz was like, oh, we need more jeans, because all my mates are like taking them out of my suitcase sort of thing. So then they all started wearing it on Geordie Shore. They loved the jeans. And then they started to message me.
Free advertising at this point.
Then they started messaging me. Like, I'll send us some jeans out, bro. And then I was like, yeah, sound, send the jeans out. And then we did deals with them where Scott, Aaron, Marty and stuff would post on top of, as well as Gaz, and then it just started to snowball from there.
So then how long till you hit like your first 100k in sales?
I don't know the first. I know in the first year we did 1 million. Like in 12 months we hit 1 mil.
Bloody hell, I bet your mum and dad were so proud.
Doing cartwheels. Yeah. So like,
how much did you give them back though?
I gave them the full amount back.
Well, you didn't give them no extra?
Possible. I can't remember. I probably did. But then what I did was, because I can't remember the cut-off point, but they eventually started to work in the company and stuff. So like, you know, they could leave their jobs and stuff. My mum still does her job because she likes that. But, you know, they were doing the payroll stuff. So, you know, they were getting paid from the company. It was like they could just work from home sort of thing. It was chilled out. And even now I've like sold the company. Like they're both like retired sort of thing. My mum still works because she likes working. But, you know, I pay them like a payroll sort of thing, like salary sort of thing.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah,
it's nice when you can bring them in, and I just think the most beautiful thing about that is the fact of like, because they saw you work, even though your mum and dad mindset might have been limited from their environment, they still saw that you had something more within you, and they've gone and they've remortgaged their house. Yeah. That's a testament to your mum and dad, because
fair play to them.
That shows a hell of a lot of balls, because you got to imagine their mentality ain't the same as yours.
No.
So I just think that's one thing that stuck out to me as something that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because not even into this day and age, I don't see many people's sons and daughters getting backed at that level in this country.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
It's hard though, because it's very hard. Like, because it's, what do you throw 20 grand at? Like, sort of thing. This is a lot of money. Yeah. So it's just one of those moments where they just thought, you know. I think they briefly remember said they said to themselves like, what if? And I think that's what turned it for them. Like, what if we don't do it? So they did.
Do you think any part of that was because they were worried about your depression?
They didn't know about my depression.
They had no idea.
Nope.
That amazes me, because I read a quote about depression the other day and about suicide, and it said, Ash, that one of the most often statements that's used when someone goes and commits suicide is the fact of like, we had no idea he was depressed.
Yeah, you just don't. Like, it's weird because like it's happened like multiple times throughout my 8 years at Hera, but you're kind of like, you isolate yourself and you don't, mate, it's so hard to explain, because like it just takes over your head. You don't think clearly. I think the biggest thing is, psychologically, it's so hard for humans to believe that someone would want to do that to themselves, because nothing can be that crazy going on in their life for them to do something like that. So I think that's just a very hard psychology thing to even break down. I don't think you're going to even, it's going to be very difficult, even with all the stuff saying it helps loads that it's more talked about, but to get someone to even, it's just psychology with humans. Like, that's why I think it happens. I just think they feel like they just can't truly explain why they feel like that, and they want to kill themselves because of this, because it makes no logical sense to the normal person.
Did you feel at the time like you weren't worthy in some form of
No, I just lost, mate. Like, girlfriend broke up with me, my whole life it just wasn't the same. Like, I don't know, I didn't enjoy not being with her at the time, so it's just like, it's fucking mental looking back now, because like, in my mind where I'm now looking back, it's like, why on earth would you even like, it makes zero sense. But in the moment when you're at that age, and that's just the way my brain coped with it, like, I don't know why it happened, don't know why I took it like that. That's just what happened. And it was it's just so difficult to explain like what it is, but it's just, you don't want to tell anyone. You kind of just isolated, and it's scary. Like, it is terrifying.
No, I really appreciate you talking into this, because so many people that want to build things, and there's so many people that listen to this podcast that struggle in different areas of their life that they're probably not talking about. And it's nice for someone who's gone into the e-commerce space in the way that you've gone into it, and then you can talk into the struggle of like even contemplating taking your own life. I mean, that statement in itself is fucking, like, it just makes my heart jump just thinking about it. It's something that more of us need to talk about more openly, because I've never got to the depths that you've been to, but I've been on my ass twice in life, like where my back's been against the wall, and I've been abroad on my own, no backing, no money, completely fucking broke on my ass. And you sit there and you cry and you feel like your whole soul's been taken from you, and you don't know where the fuck to go. And that's how I felt on a personal level when these kind of things happened to me. Yeah,
and I even remember like when it was like when it was first happening and stuff with the breakup and stuff, I'd go to sleep thinking about it, just crying, really upset, and then I'd wake up for like 3 seconds. I'd wake up and like feel slightly normal, and then within 3 seconds, like my brain would kick in, like, no, this happened. It's not a dream, this sort of thing. And I wanted it to be a dream, didn't want it to be real. And then then you're just depressed all day. And then, but the one thing, what 1,000,000% helped me get out of it is, like you said, setting goals. The gym is the first thing I prescribe anyone, is go to a fucking gym and eat properly, get a coach, train. And even like the online PT is not, because I know it's expensive and stuff, but even back then, you can get like online coaches for like 30, 40 quid a month just for accountability sort of thing. So that helped loads. And then, it's just, you got to definitely like gym and stuff.
I think the key thing that where potentially you went wrong, and where I've potentially gone wrong in the past is, and hopefully this gives you guys who listen to this podcast a bit of an insight, but when you place your happiness in something exterior, whether that's another person or a product or some form of materialistic good, once you put your happiness into that, you've now disempowered yourself, because now that can go away. You can lose that Lamborghini, you can lose that blue tick on Instagram, you can that girlfriend can fuck off, that person can die. There's lots of things that can happen that's why you have to build that within yourself. And when you went to the gym, Ash, and when you started to do things for yourself, that's when you started to build that self-esteem, that self-engine.
Massive. Like when you start seeing improvements in your body and stuff, and like you start to look really good, it's just like your confidence just goes through the roof, and then you just like forget about that, and it releases natural endorphins by training, eating properly, and just having that goal like to strive for, and it takes your mind off it. But yeah, like it's funny looking at it. It's like technically, like, I built Hera. Hera technically replaced my girlfriend. I replaced it and put all my stuff in that, because I knew, I had sort of like control over my destiny with that. Like I can control that, it's not going to leave, sort of thing.
And that's beautiful that you said that too. Control over your destiny, and that's what we all need. And the way that we get the control is by taking ownership of ourselves and not trying to put things into materialistic or other people. Because as soon as you do that, you're on the highway to nowhere. Because one day you know, if you like, you got a beautiful Lamborghini outside the house right now, yeah. If you put any self-worth into that Lamborghini and you get rid of it, you've now lost a piece of your self-worth. But you don't have to lose a piece of your self-worth if you build it from within. I think that's the most beautiful thing I've just learned from what you've just done there with the gym and everything. When you scaled it to 1 million, right? Was there a lot of people at the time? Because obviously this is these bedroom brands, especially in the year 2015-16, these bedroom brands were getting like astronomical offers. Were there people coming in with big amounts of cash saying, we'll take this for a multiple?
So in the first year, 12 months, we were just selling jeans. So we launched in April 2015, just selling 3 pairs of black jeans, like different rips. That was it. Then it got to October. I then switched models to Leon Scott, who was one of the most, in my opinion, recognised models blowing up in the industry at that time. Did Six Silk stuff, and then all of a sudden every single brand was using him. And then I really liked his look and his image and stuff for Hera. So model for Hera looked sick. And then I was like, I messaged him one day. I was like, bro, would you ever consider like just going like just with Hera and just sign a contract with us and we'll just do it just as and you don't model for anyone else? He was like, oh, I don't know. It's something I'd have to think about if, you know, depending on like finances and money and stuff and all this stuff. So eventually like we agreed a fee.
Do you remember what the fee was?
I don't want to say just for his confidentiality and stuff, but it was a lot of money. And then...
We're talking 6 or 7 figures?
It'd have been 6 figures a year. Yeah, over that. But overall then, maybe, yeah. But, so obviously we agreed a deal with Leon and then become good friends over the years and stuff. And then, we had that exclusivity because back then I was like, why am I wasting all this? Like, I want that image just attached to my brand. If every other brand is using the same model and images, it takes away from Hera straight away. We don't differentiate. We're not different from everyone else. And it really, I think that was a very big turning point in Hera's success, is like having that image. And it's very a unique
I'd never thought
look.
about that until you just mentioned it, actually.
I'm convinced by it. Like, I know it's the Geordie Shore and influencers, but I think Leon played a massive part in Hera, like without a doubt. Like that look. And Stephen James as well. He's one of the ones. If you look at Six Silk now, they've used Stefan James for like 4 or 5 years straight, or whatever, just using him really as the main campaign guy because you know it's a very unique sort of look. And back then, tan tattoos look sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Calvin Klein. I can't think of the names. He's a very famous model. His name's just gone up my head. But Calvin Klein do the same thing.
Yeah,
there's this English guy that they use on the advert. A very famous guy. He's done a few podcasts, and they just place, you know, when they go all in on a model, don't they? So they have a celebrity model, and then they have the model, and they stick with that for like a number of years to hold the brand in. I think you know it was like Beckham, and then it was Ronaldo for the celebrity one, and then this guy. Yeah, it does make a hell of a lot of difference.
No, massively. Yeah, it just separates yourself from everyone else.
And these are just exclusive contracts that are put together.
Yeah, it's just like exclusives, like, right, model for Hera, that's it. You don't model for any other brand. And then that was it. And he had us, you know, we only did 2 shoots a year. so it's like spring, summer, or winter. So it was a sound job. Yeah. Because before he'd have to travel everywhere. Like, he was like, I've got to go here. But with us, just like, you know.
So his only job then is 2 shoots a year and to keep in shape?
Pretty much, yeah. But then obviously we'd become very close friends. Like, it was like we'd talk every day. He'd come down to Cheltenham like every other week. We'd go through designs and stuff. He was very a part of it and stuff. And because he's got a very good eye for fashion, and you know, shout out to his new brand Fawn, what he's launched with his business partner, which looks really, really good. And I think it'll do really well with him behind it because he's got a look for it. Like, you know, he knows fashion, and he used to get people from Geordie Shore messaging him like, do these outfits look good, bro? Like sort of thing, because they'd go for him for like fashion advice and stuff, and he loves his fashion. So
I think some people do just have an eye for that detail.
100%.
I have no doubt then that all the stuff that he's putting into his new brand and the way that his new brand's blown up, that's come from the fact of maybe being around you and being around that creative process from the early days.
Yeah, he'd learn from stuff from that, and it'd be off his own stuff as well. It's like a combination of both experience and stuff.
Yeah, and perhaps the most pivotal point in his career was the fact that he signed that exclusive contract, because that gave him the time to be able to be involved in the creative process, which he was never involved in before.
Yeah,
I love that.
No, it all worked out, and then and then that was October, and it's funny actually. Prior to that launch with Leon, and we launched blue skinny jeans, dark blue and light blue, and different rips with Leon, and I got onto Dragon's Den a month I think it was like I applied months before this event. Went to auditions and stuff, had to go to BBC or whatever, do auditions and stuff. I got through the process. I was literally going on to live TV.
Yeah.
And then had the emails and stuff. And I launched the new jeans with Leon. And then we launched it and we made I can't remember the exact number, but it was a lot, like 20, 30 grand, for example, from that launch. I was like, okay, I don't need Dragon's Den. So I cancelled sacked Dragon's Den off.
How much were you going to ask for?
It was about 25, 30 grand. And even at that point, I even messaged Gaz, because I've got the text now. I was like, would you buy 25% of Hera for 25 grand? And he didn't want to, I think it's just one of those things. It was like, back then it was like a bit of a risk, didn't want to do it. He got 11 degrees sort of thing, but he didn't go ahead with it. And then went to obviously Dragon's Den, and then obviously just launched myself, and then just luckily it just took off loads.
It just amazes me when I sit and I talk to all these entrepreneurs like yourself, at the serendipity of how certain things happen, and how the kind of universe, so to speak, kind of shines on you at different points in your careers, and how these pivotal moments all come together. And it's like, I'm going here to look for 30 grand, and then 30 grand pops up from here. It's like, it's just mad, isn't it, when you think about how the world works and how energy works. And
then even prior to that, the jeans were stocked in my grandparents' bloody, they had a spare bedroom sort of thing, which was a lot bigger, so all the jeans were there. I used to go down to the house, pick and pack the orders. My nan used to really make me get scissors and cut the straggly ends off the knees and stuff, like the thread and stuff, and then put them in a box, went to the post office, posted them, and then we started to move it to my parents' house. And then I just remember it's around Christmas time, where it's just like, I think it was like November, Black Friday, we launched it, and then my parents' bedroom, parents' living room just looked like a bomb at it. Like, just like parcels just stacked to the ceiling. You couldn't see anything in the living room.
So how much were you turning over when you were still in the house?
I can't remember. I know from April, it was barely anything. May, June, July, August, it was like maybe a couple of grand a month, few grand a month. And then it took off. I know it really took off in November and December, where it was from Leon, from October, November, December, where it really started to snowball. But because we launched in April, like the financial year is like April to April sort of thing. So from April to April the following year, January, February, March, April, then it really started to take off. So I think we went into like a 3PL probably in November of 2014. So I remember saying to my parents, like, man, this is getting big. I need to, there's this thing called a 3PL. It's like, they stock the stuff for you to send out, and they were like, no, don't do it. It's too much. Don't do it. Like, it's too risky and all this stuff. It's like, I'm doing it. So I did it because I was just new logic.
How much were a 3PL for, like?
Not a lot. It's just nothing. It's just like they stock your stock, but and then obviously you just pay you pick and pack prices and storage fees and stuff. It was like, logistically, it's impossible for me to print off all these orders, pick, pack, and then send them out constantly. I was like getting my friends over to like help me pick and pack and stuff. It's just such a waste of time. But obviously you got to do it in the early stages. But
in your opinion,
I did it at the exact right time, because I remember like we did it, and then a couple of weeks later we made tons of sales. I was like, that's why I told my parents, like, that is why I went into the 3PL. It was about to fucking blow up. Like,
so how long should someone keep a brand in-house, like at their home, at their apartment, at whatever, until how many sales should they be getting through, kind of, or revenue
until
numbers?
It's pissing you off, like until like you'll know the time. Because I remember when I was doing all the customer service emails, I was like, this is just nuts. Like, I'd reply to someone, they'd reply back, and then you'd have another one. It's just a constant cycle. It's like, I need to hire someone, and then I hired my first employee and stuff to take care of customer service. But it's whenever it starts to like it's whenever you can't keep on top of it, basically. Yeah. So when you're like, you're missing parcels, or like, it's too much for you, or, it just makes no sense that you're sat here printing out parcels and going to the post office with a massive queue, or like customer service, you're getting angry customers now because they're not getting a good response time. That's when they'll know when it's the right time, because you just sort of it's like, you need help.
I think with your story, it's you've done it so organically. It's just kind of evolved as it's evolved. Yeah. Whereas I think with these people that you're talking about earlier on the podcast, where you talk about the people that have spent 25, 30 grand and then not even launched a brand yet.
No, they did. They have launched, like, for example, they launched the brand, and there's like, how much revenue you made? And they're like, none. I was like, it's heartbreaking, because it's like, you've spent a shit ton of money, which is gone. and you've got nothing to like get back, and that's what people do.
But I think a lot of people, even some people that might listen to this, might have that misconception that you do need, because the DM that I get all the time is, I'm going to launch this business, and they talk to me about their website and their logo and all this bullshit, and I'm like, have you proven the concept first?
100%.
Have you sold anything? If you've not sold anything, you've not even got a viable concept.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. I was like, you need to just try and get some sort of proof of concept first, and remember, you need to make sales and not piss money down the drain at the same time.
Yeah.
So like the most important thing is you need to start making money. So just focus on like actually seeing money sort of be generated before you carry on spending a lot of money, sort of thing. But as well, what you need to remember is, like, I know I had in my mind no control over timing, but looking back, everything aligned, like, for me perfectly. Like, I found a product which didn't exist in terms of that USP, and there was a huge, gigantic demand for it. And then, you know, influencer marketing was not anywhere near as saturated as now. So you had a way, way bigger impact for a smaller amount of money. So for me to spend that amount of money on gas had a gigantic impact on the brand from day one. Whereas if I had that 25 grand today and spent on a $2,000 influencer, it wouldn't do fuck all. So it's just like, it's very different times and stuff.
I think nowadays you'd probably allocate it on a TikTok star rather than you would on an Instagram.
Yeah, I 100% use TikTok over Instagram at the minute. Yeah,
just because of the reach. So you have to
change.
You know, and before that it was Facebook, and before that it was fucking something else.
There's always the new thing, and you just got to find the new thing. Like, there's always going to be something what's new, and you just got to.
I think you just got to position yourself when you've got a brand with where the world's going rather than where the world has already been.
Yeah.
And I think too many people are trying to start brands and trying to start things on where the world has already been, and they're dropping a large amount of sum to try and go where the world's already been.
Yeah.
And when you look at any people like yourself that have done well and done numbers and had hockey stick growth, they've always, even if it's just slightly, just been ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
In terms of what they do, and that's the difference, because there could have been 16 different jean brands started after Hera London that would have flopped on the floor because they just weren't first to market in that niche.
You don't even have to be. Being first obviously gives you a big advantage, but you don't have to be first. Like, it helps, don't get me wrong, but there's also brands which, you know, it was quite funny because, like, when obviously Hera brought out the jeans and stuff, it didn't. 6 months, maybe 12 months, then you start seeing like all the other bedroom brands bring out these jeans because, you know, I proved the concept. And I remember speaking to like agents and stuff who managed 6 Silk 11 Degrees, and I was on the phone to them. I was like, you know, like, these jeans, honestly, they're going to be fucking massive. Like, I want to work with you, like, get me into these like foot sign and whatever. And then they were like, you know, jeans, just kids don't want jeans. Like, it's just not a thing. Like, you know, they don't have a logo on. They don't care about jeans. Like, it's just not a thing. I was like, bro, I promise you, it's going to be a thing. But they just didn't want to do it, sort of thing, which is fair enough. And then,
did you get shops reaching out trying to stock you?
Oh God, yeah. Like I think it was like 2016. I had Top Man.
Yeah.
Want to stock the jeans, which is ironic, considering that a year ago I was in Topshop thinking, why aren't you making these jeans? And there's one of the thing Virgin Startup Loan said, there's like, you know, how are you going to compete with Top Man and Topshop and all these big corporations? It's like, well, a year later they want to stock my jeans. So yeah, I had messages. They wanted to stock it, ASOS, Foot Asylum, and all that stuff. So
after speaking with a lot of ECOM brand owners, like, lately, a lot of them are trying to get extra streams of revenue because, you know, whereas everything was focused on direct sales in the last, say, 4 or 5 years, a lot of them now are trying to get on Amazon. They're trying to get their brands into stores now to diversify their streams of income.
It's because, like, back in the day when I was doing it, like, it was all, the majority was like the model was, you know, you make your brand, you then get it into department stores, they then sell your brand for you, and that's how you. But as gatekeepers, like, you'd have to know people or whatever to get in, sort of thing. And then Instagram obviously came along, and then you could, you know, use influencers. And I spotted that. I was like, you know, I think it goes back to like the control thing. I didn't want anyone to have control over my destiny and brand, and I didn't want a buyer deciding whether my brand was going to get stocked or not. Like, I didn't, because I'm very, like, I've always seen myself as like an underdog sort of thing. Like, it's hard for me to explain like what I'm good at, but if you just leave me alone and let me do it, I'll do it and show you, sort of thing. So it's just like, I didn't want to go into stores for that exact reason. It was like a control thing. I didn't understand why you just wouldn't have your own control of your own Shopify website. I didn't get it. I could get it on Gaz, Geordie Shore, Towie, and all these influencers, pay them. We'd then make sales. We get the money straight away. So I'm not, waiting for 90-day payment terms or whatever. And I just didn't get the margins, like sort of things. Like I didn't understand, because when I spoke to ASOS, like we take X amount. I was like, well, that's fucking shit. For it's like, why would I do that? It's like when I'm making all this margin, through online, it made no sense to me, and it's expensive. Like you've got to have the cash to even fund a store and stuff, so it requires a lot of money. So yeah, obviously stuck to the direct to consumer route throughout. But to answer your question about now people are going into stores, which I even myself, like, I'm like, yes, I'd go into stores as well now, because for one, it's like you said, it's another avenue of revenue, and to be honest, the margins are probably the same. Like if you really take into consideration your fulfillment costs, your returns, your cost of acquisition of customers is fucking expensive now. Like with Facebook just going up and up. So it's like, well, actually, when you break it all down, you're just as good as going into a store. As
soon as Facebook got rid of like Apple. As soon as the Pixel started getting
iOS stuff,
with all the iOS, every e-commerce brand started going, right, we've got to go into Amazon, we've got to go into stores, because we've got to diversify our income. Because when someone looks to acquire the brand in the future, when it comes up for future sales, if you've just got all your money coming from one, they won't value you on a higher multiple.
And it's actually funny, the whole direct to consumer thing, it's kind of a load of bollocks anyway, because really, do you own your customer? Shopify owns your customer. Like all your data is on Shopify. That's a company. Like you don't own Shopify. Like you're using the platform on Shopify to hold all your data. What happens if something happens to Shopify? I'm not saying it will, but if they've disappeared? All your data's gone and your website's disappeared. And then the person who owns your customer is really Facebook and Instagram. It's like, what happens when these brands, have their ad account turned off and there's no traffic to their website anymore? The brand goes to zero.
I've had dropshipping brands, only small ones, but it's like I've lost them because the Facebook ad account goes down.
Yeah.
And it's like they kill you for so long. It's so hard to go and get these new aged accounts up and running and this, that, and the other, and the cost of buying them and all this other shit that you have to go through. It's like, is it worth it for a brand that I'm not even passionate about?
Online is scary because it's like, well, really, you've got influencers, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google, which are obviously still, they're massive, powerful tools and stuff, but it's scary that you're actually reliant so much on these companies.
Well, Alex Hormozy said something really good the other day that I tuned into and it really hit my ears. And he said, and I thought this is brilliant, it's like, he goes, I just focus completely on product and service and everything else.
Yeah.
And I make the experience so good and so flawless that people will then recommend it, and you can grow it. And and until I've grown it and as much as I can organically and with shareability in terms of content, until I've grown it to a maximum capacity there, I won't bring on paid ads.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of, because I was reading, he said he spends $70,000 a month US producing content, right, doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he gets but if he paid for the same reach in terms and amount of impressions, he'd pay $2 million in ads.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So like that just proves the concept that if you got to design what you're doing to serve the customer more rather than just trying to scale the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And moonshot it.
Yeah.
When you obviously you'd been offered these stores, you've refused to go into stores at this point, you've scaled the brand up a few more million. Yeah. When did the first offer come in to buy the company?
So it was late 2016. I had a letter through my parents' house, which was where the company was registered to, and my mum gave me the letter, and it was from Levi Strauss, which is obviously one of the biggest denim brands in the world. And then they basically just said we infringed on their red tag label, because obviously I didn't know that. We basically put a black tab on the back pocket saying Hera on the jeans, and then apparently they've trademarked that tab, like any tab in any shape or form on your back pocket. No one else in the world can do that. So yeah, they found website and stuff, and then wanted to pursue like legal action.
So this wasn't an offer to buy you. This was to sue you.
Yeah, like this was from Levi's.
Yeah.
So they wanted to like just basically just like sue, and then yes, that was a horrible process because like they, even though you're from a bedroom and stuff, like they still, the majority of companies don't give a fuck. Like they will shut you down, like without a doubt. And you can give them the stories and stuff and all this stuff, but they still wouldn't go away. And then went to Cheltenham, got like a legal guy who was just complete shit. He didn't, well out of his depth looking back, didn't know what to do really. It's like looking back, the advice I was getting off him was nuts. And then
what advice?
He probably didn't. He's probably never had Levi's at the door.
Was he googling?
Probably.
Yeah.
So it was all at the same time because I was getting these offers from all these companies, and my gut was, don't go into them because you're better off online. Just stay online, you control it, and dilute your brand and all this stuff. And I was like, I just want to get some clarification from someone in the industry that I'm doing the right sort of thing. So then I reached out. I managed to get in touch with Julian Dunkerton's PA or something. I don't know how I got in touch with
Who's that?
Owner, founder of Superdry.
Right. Okay.
Lives in Cheltenham and stuff. So I was like, I really want to meet him. So managed to set up a meeting with him, went to his office, and then just had a chat, and we got on really well. Loved the story and stuff. He was aware of Hera and stuff, seeing it around and stuff. Got on really well and stuff. And then obviously he was like, let's go for dinner like the next day or something. We'll just come to 131 and whatever. We'll just have another chat and stuff. And he was just like, in the first meeting, just like, I think what you need is just me to like mentor you sort of thing, because I can see it myself in you sort of thing, because he started when he was like 19 from nothing, from a market stall in Cheltenham. So I've come and spoke to him and said what I've done and stuff, and then I went for dinner with him the next day, and then just started chatting again, and then we just got on to the conversation of obviously I told him about the problem with Levi's. They want like 6 figures in terms of like payment to go away, and then he offered to like, we were talking like he wanted to like put an offer into like potentially buy equity in the company and stuff. So we carried on talking and stuff over the weeks and stuff, and then they offered. There's a lot of back and forth and stuff because like, well, before we even got to the price and stuff, it was like, okay, we need to get rid of Levi's first. So they helped me out with their legal team, and then they got rid of Levi's sort of thing.
So literally, like the legal team just sent a letter back and they fucked off.
It was quick. Like it was like they know what they're doing there. So like it was like a few phone calls or whatever over a week, I think it took, and then we got a settlement figure right down into something more realistic. It was still expensive. Like I can't remember the exact amount. It was 6 figures. It was like
you had to settle with them.
Yeah.
So you paid them off.
Yeah. But
wow.
thank fuck we were making money.
Yeah. So you were turning over what, 1, 2, 3 mil at this point?
At that point, I think when I was talking to Superdry, we were doing 3 million in revenue.
And what was the profit margin on 3 million per year?
At that time, I couldn't even tell you because I didn't know. I did zero. I didn't know what finance was. I didn't know what a margin was. I didn't even think about it. I was just lucky that my accounts were all over the place. I just had an account in Cheltenham. The quarterly would come. I had no monthly management accounts. It was just like, fucking not organised at all, because I don't know any of that stuff. So
you need to be monthly to even know where you're going.
Yeah, now looking now, it's the first thing I teach anyone is like finance and numbers and all this stuff. But looking back then, I was like, I didn't even know what margin meant. So it was just lucky that I was buying it for X and selling it for Y, and luckily the numbers stacked up and my expenses were lower than my so it's just profitable sort of thing. And then and then they sorted them out. They went away, and then I had a phone call with Julian. I remember it was at a Drake concert actually, and then got the phone call. It was like, okay, right, we're going to offer, I think it was like, they wanted to buy 30% of the company. They were going to give me $1 million into my bank personally, $1 million into the company for working capital. And then if we hit 6 million, they'd give me another $1 million, and then personally, and then they'd put another $1 million into the company, which was, looking back, a fucking sick deal.
Mate, I'd have fucking snapped his arm off.
Yeah.
Because the mentorship on that, massive. Is massive, man.
Yeah.
When you think about what he's achieved in business.
Yeah. So this goes back to being inexperienced. I didn't understand how to value a company, and back then I was basing it off, well, no, actually, I'm doing 3 million. It's worth way more than that to me, sort of stuff. And I don't know. I don't even know why. Like, and there was obviously other elements. I was like, I was nervous about, going into business with like a bigger corporation sort of thing, because it's completely different. Like,
do you think the real root reason is because you were now attached to Hera like you were previously attached to the girlfriend?
There's a lot of psychological reasons. I think I was always scared of like letting go of it, but and then just trying to think like the times of all. So like, at that point, it was 2016. Yeah, it wasn't at that point. And then it just didn't work out. We just like decided mutually it just wasn't a thing. But looking back, as like, luckily it didn't happen, because Julian, it was all public and stuff, like went through a lot of shit at Superdry. They got a new CEO, Hewan from the co-op, fucked the company up, like publicly. Like, I'm not saying like it went to shit, but I'm just saying like publicly it was a disaster. Julian then ended up getting removed from the company. So, I've gone in with Julian to a company. You're now out the fucking company. So imagine if I sold, I'm now in with these lot who don't know how to run Superdry. What would have happened to Hera?
Yeah.
They'd be like, actually, they could have got rid of us or whatever. And then
happens to so many brands. Happens to so many.
And one of the questions I asked Julian at the time was, I was like, what happens if you leave? So I was aware of the risks as well of that sort of stuff. But, all this stuff was going on. Then obviously, luckily, eventually over time, he managed to get back into the company, because I think the board voted him by like 1% extra or something. So he got back into the company, and then Hewan left. But that took a long time. I think that was like in 2018, I think. Like, he left Superdry for like a year or 2 years, I think. It's quite a long time.
Yeah, and I think that brand, and the quality of the brand went right downhill over that period as well.
Yeah, so like, I think their model was just like, copy the fast fashion brands. Let's just use that model as successful. But then Julian's more of like, it needs to be higher gross margin, off sale, which is the correct way to do it in terms of like models and stuff, being a premium brand. If you're going down the fast fashion road and stuff, like your Boohoo's and stuff, like, you've really got to have like your fucking factories like next to you and low product. And Superdry was not that. Like, Superdry was known, like you said, for premium quality clothes.
Well, I've still got a coat, an original jacket from Superdry in my wardrobe in Australia, and the quality of the original gear that they used to put out was phenomenal. Yeah, man. Was phenomenal quality.
Yeah. Amazing.
And I don't wear it.
I think everyone had a Superdry coat at school.
Yeah, I don't wear it, but I just like the branding of it.
Yeah,
and it's like kind of a timeless piece. I just wanted to keep it for nostalgic reasons, but I just remember the quality of it and how. I think
they sold over like 1 million of those coats or something.
Yeah,
like, they sold crazy amounts.
I had the limited edition white one with the black Japanese writing with the Superdry on. That's the only one I got. I've not got like a multicolored one, but it was a sick brand when it was original.
That was massive. Like, I think it got to like 1 billion, didn't it, or something? And even now it's doing hundreds of millions.
Yeah, I think they've had a bit of a resurgence, because the reason I know that is because before I got into online world and working online, I used to fit out shops. I had a shop fit out. Like, just self-employed, fitting out shops all over Australia. One of the shops that I fitted out was Superdry.
Oh, okay.
So when Superdry went as a brand into Australia, I was fitting it out. So it is definitely on a resurgence.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
But nowhere near our youth days. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But then obviously you refuse this deal. You go down the track. You do eventually sell the company.
So actually jumping back, because that's why I paused it, because I'm trying to marry them all up, because it's like there's so much what's happened. So like the talks with Superdry went on for like a few months. Like, originally it was like, turn them down, and then we got into Selfridges around the same time. So when I got an offer from Selfridges, like 1,000,000%. It's the only store I'd ever want to go into, because like, and my whole model was like, I don't want any stores. But when Selfridges wanted it, I was like, I love that store. It's an honor to even be in that store, sort of thing. So I was like, 100% did that. And then at the same time, so I had 2 like sales agents in my company. So like, they're the first real people with business experience, because I was it's just me and a few mates running it and stuff. So
out of a house as well.
At this point, we had like a little office in Cheltenham, but it was just a little office. And then so these basically, I've had a phone call. It's just a random number. It's like, oh, it's so and so. Like, I've been passed your number on from someone from ASOS. Like, I phoned the woman from ASOS. Like, is this genuine and stuff? It's like, yeah. So then they come down to Cheltenham. Had a meeting with them. They come into the they just kind of just got into the business. Like, just kept doing meetings and then advising you on certain things. And before you know it, they're sort of part of the company sort of things. You're kind of listening to them. They helped me, get into do the Selfridges stuff and all that stuff. So it was like there's trust being built.
Was this the Selfridges people?
Yeah. So I don't want to I'm not going to say any names and stuff. But yeah. So like it wasn't anything to do with Selfridges. These were like separate.
These were
wholesale agents,
separate wholesale agents that help you get into Selfridges. So basically, what happened was then, just so I'm clear on this, is the fact of like they came in saying we're going to put you and place you in. We can place you on Selfridges, and you were kind of bamboozled.
Well, originally it was they phoned me up saying we got Top Man interested in your brand, and this is why I'm trying to marry everything up in timeline. So they said Top Man, and then I was like no, and then I kept saying no to like ASOS and stuff, and then they're like, what about Selfridges? I was like, yeah, I'll go into Selfridges. And then we did a deal with the agents, a commission basing, which is generic, to obviously do that. So then I was being advised by them. And this was like early 2016. So this was pre that Superdry deal.
Yeah.
So they were in this right. So they're in the company at this point. And then had a good relationship with them. They're to your face, they're just like nice people. So it's just like, you get on with them and stuff. You listen to them. They got, one of them had a very good background in the industry. So I was like, no, it's not like Joe Bloggs. Like, he had a background. And then I told them about the Superdry deal. And then all of a sudden, like, don't do it. Like, the scaremongering sort of stuff, like, that you lose control of your brand, like you don't need to do that. And I was like, no, I do want to really look at the Superdry thing. And then I kept obviously just going back and forth and stuff. And then they were like, mine's gone blank. We can edit this bit.
Yeah. No, mate, go for it. Yeah,
mine's gone blank. Let's have a drink of water quick.
Mate, it's difficult for you to.
There's so much to process.
And obviously this is the first podcast that you've been on.
Yeah.
And before you go into it, just to give the audience a bit of a understanding. Obviously, I knew Ash's story was phenomenal, and I've obviously reached out to you a few times to get you on here to do this, and I know how hard this is for you to do because of, to come onto a podcast, your first one, after doing so much and having such a turmoil story, which we're going to go into.
Yeah.
It's difficult, mate. It's difficult. Yeah. There's a lot of emotion attached to it. Talk. I just want to say full credit to you for coming on here and distilling the learnings that you've had from being, having those suicidal thoughts and being in the depression, and the story you're going to go on to tell from here. I know how hard it is for you to do it, mate, because of everything that's gone on. But I'm so. As I sit here this far into this podcast, I can't tell you how pleased I am that I kept berating you to do this podcast, because, man, there's so much in this for any young entrepreneur to learn, or anyone in business to learn, or anyone who's out there who's fucking struggling. There's so much in this for you guys to pick up and kind of understand in your life and how perspective. So, man, credit to you, man.
So it's come back now. It's like, speaking to the agent stuff, they're like, I was swaying a lot towards Superdry, and then they're like, just before we make decisions, we just want you to meet this one person. I've set up a meeting with you. He's in London. Just come to the meeting to see what you think. So went to their offices. Two of them, the two investor guys, were sat there, and then chatting, and they were just like, don't do Superdry. We've been following you around. We love you. We love your brand. It's going to be the next massive thing in the UK. Like, we see it now and all this stuff. And and all this spiel and stuff. And then they were like, we manufacture all the Superdry stuff. Like, we can do all your manufacturing for you. We don't want any equity. We just want to give you the money to fund you, and then you just pay us back the money. And then I was like, okay, well, this sounds quite good, because it's like too good to be true.
Yeah.
And then I remember being on holiday, just thinking it all through and stuff. I was like,
how much was the money? So we're talking multiple.
3 mil.
Right. Okay.
3 million it was. So all in all, when the bill come to the end, it was 3 mil. But the problem, so like I said, I chose to go with these guys. So like, I keep 100%, I keep full control, which was a doubt in my head at the same time. So I was like, fuck it, let's go for it. And these guys were credible. Like, they weren't just, they were. And they were credible.
And what kind of contract did they offer you?
There's no fucking. This is the bad thing. There's no contract. Like, there was 0 contracts at all so this was August 2017.
So just so I'm straight, they just put 3 million with no contract, £3 million cash into your business.
No. So what they did was extremely fucking smart and clever. Like, it's nuts. So like, basically what happened was they control the manufacturing. So they sort all that stuff out. So the 2 sales agents, they were on commission because the 2 sales agents set this deal up. So they put in the contract, we want 10% commission of whatever you manufacture with these guys. So they were financially incentivized to make as much fucking stock as possible and to get as much financing as possible because they're going to make more money. 10% of 3 mil. How much is that?
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
So
it's 300
grand.
Yeah.
300 grand.
For staff that you're already paying. They
were just sales. They were just the agents. So they were going to make 300 grand from this one transaction. It's probably the most money they've ever made. So it's just like, so we spent August 2017 all the way up until, no, it's probably earlier than that. It's probably like July. So like July, August, September, October. We had 4 months to make all this like stock and plan it. So we made all the stock and stuff. The 2 sales agents were like doing the buy-in with us and stuff and like guiding us and like thinking like, right, we need to order this amount. We've got you a £3 million credit limit. Let's just fucking use it, sort of thing. So I was like, because I never knew where the ceiling was with Hera, like, because we would sell out constantly.
So they didn't give you 3 mil, they gave you a 3 million credit line.
Credit line.
Right, I understand now.
Credit line. Yeah. So, because with me, like, we used to get jeans back in 2016, mate. Like, we would order like 8,000 jeans or whatever, and they would sell out on pre-order. So people would wait 4 to 5 weeks. They'd pay us 50 quid and wait 5 weeks for the jeans, and then the jeans would arrive, and then they'd be sold out, sort of thing, and then we'd always be behind. So like, we never knew the ceiling of where Hera would be, sort of thing. But any buyer in the world with half a brain cell would look at obviously our reports on Shopify, do the data, look how many customers we got, and think, you've got no acquisition strategy. You're not spending anywhere near enough on acquisition. There's no way in hell you should be even going anywhere near £3 million worth of stock. It's ridiculous. But I didn't have the knowledge I had back then, like, at all. I didn't know any of this stuff. I told you earlier, I didn't even know what margin was, sort of thing. Like, it's just I didn't go to business university or school. I just fell into it.
You're just learning on the job.
Yeah, learning as you go along, but then you're being misled by people like that. So, they filled the 3, and because as well, like, all this stock was being made for Christmas and November Black Friday. So like, there was a lot of like, for me, I was like, fine, we'll do it. Like, it's Black Friday, Christmas, like, we should, I guess we'll sell it. But obviously not knowing the numbers, like, it was never going to stack up like in a million years.
So you manufactured then $3 million?
No, so it was 2 million. It worked out about 2 mil net. And then obviously on top of that, you've then got your import costs and you've got your freight bills and stuff. So when it comes as an overall, it's like a lot of fucking money. But so we did a photo shoot with Sphere Ritchie, spent 120 grand just on that one photo shoot with her to be the face of the brand. Spent all this money promoting the date of the launch and stuff for all this new collection to go live. And then a week, I think it was 7 days before all the stock was supposed to, I think it was about 2 weeks before the stock was supposed to arrive into the warehouse ready for this 1st of November launch, had a phone call from them. It was like, oh, look, Ash, like, we're having a bit of a slight delay and everything. Like, just, we're trying to go as fast as we can and all this stuff. But, I really think we should just, go ahead with the launch just so we don't get behind on time. Launch it, put it on pre-order. Your stock will arrive 5 days later. We'll get it in straight away and we can send the orders out. I was like, because we already did pre-orders and stuff with the jeans. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We can do that as long as it is in by the date you're saying it's in. So then that all happened, and then the stock arrives at UK customs. It's like, arrives in the UK. All this, half of the stock, not all of it. Like
they add their VAT on, don't they?
Yeah. And then they're like, "Oh, have you got the VAT money?" And I was like, "Oh no, I thought this was all like included and stuff." So I was like, and then, actually prior to that, when all the stock arrived in customs, I had an email come through, 60-page contract. Yeah. And 60-page contract. I was like,
tell me you read that.
So 2 days before that contract come through, I went to cinema to watch The Founder film, and I watched it.
Ray Kroc,
got fucked at the end, where he did it on a handshake, and he's lost out on like 1% royalties for life at McDonald's, whatever the deal was. And I walked out of that, I was like, fuck me, like that's next level, like fucked up. And then that played on my mind, and then 2 days later I had this contract land in my email. I was just skimming through it, and there was just like seeing words like IP and all this stuff, and I was like, what's IP? Like, I didn't even know what IP meant, like trademarks and stuff. I didn't know it. And then I spoke to my sales agents like on the phone. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, you lot have kept quiet for 5 months. We've been talking. You've made all this fucking stock, and we've put all the stock on. The stock's gone out. We've sold this. We've sold thousands and thousands. It was like 5,000. I don't know the exact number. It was a lot. On that launch, we sold it on pre-order.
So what was it revenue wise to the business?
Just going.
Are we talking a couple of million sales or?
Yeah, so going. I can't remember how much we did. Say the average order value is like 50 quid.
But if you'd ordered like 2.5-3 million's worth of stock, I'd presume you would have sold 5 or 6 million pounds worth of goods, right?
I'll go into it like when I go through it, it's trying to piece it all together. So like when we sold, say, 4,000 orders on pre-order, 4,000 times the average order value was 50 quid. So it's, let's say, I don't know the exact numbers, but there's 200 grand on like the first couple of days or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I spoke to sales agents like what the fuck is this? Like, this is just dodgy. Like, alarm bells ringing. Like, and then they're like, no, we've read through it. Like, it's all fine. Like, don't And I was like, I'm sending it to my solicitor, and he'd send it to a lawyer, and all the fucking launch is fucked now, and all this stuff. I was kicking off like crazy, and then they're like, no, we've read through it, it's all fine. I was like, and it's just they're just like, sign it, it's fine, like I promise, just sign it, and then we can just get the stock moving. Being blackmailed, it was just like, they knew the pressure. It was timed to perfection. It was all done strategically. Whereas like, I've sold 4,000 plus orders on thing. We're getting backlash from customers.
And I've got £2 million pounds worth of stock at customs.
Yeah.
And the £2 million, I've got to put VAT on top of it.
Yeah. And it's all like going on. And I've got bills to pay, expenses and stuff. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I sent the contract to my solicitor, and he was just like, do not sign this contract. Do not fucking put your pen anywhere near this contract. And basically the terms were fucking stupid. Like, they were like, if it arrives late, damaged or faulty, they are zero liable. There's no liability on them whatsoever. And the full balance of the 3 million is due within 30 days, or they take full IP of the company.
So essentially what they did then...
Yeah, tried to buy the company for 3 million quid.
They're trying to put you into 3 million's worth of debt so that they could just take your company and take your brand off you.
Yeah.
And that was the way that they were acquiring the company.
Yeah. But the only thing what went wrong in their plan, which was so perfect, is they fucked with the wrong kid. Simple as that. They fucked with the wrong kid. Like, I was not stupid and naive. Like, they did not expect me not to sign that contract. And if I'd have put my pen on that contract and just signed it, they'd have taken that company there and then, like within that 30-day period. And it gets worse. So, like, I didn't sign it. We had massive arguments going back and forth. I remember having board meetings with them, just fucking, it was like, I knew the two sales agents were not on my side, but I went along with it because I needed them as leverage for me to get to them. So like, it was me, 2 sales agents, them lot, the 2 investor guys, me on my own against all them lot, and then trying to work out this fucking mess. They were like, we're not sending the stock unless you sign the contract. I was like, I'm not signing the contract, you can shove the stock up your ass. And then eventually they were like, I didn't budge. So I was like, eventually they sent the stock into our warehouse, and then the stock arrived into our warehouse. Then I went down to the James & James. It was like hour and a half drive because I wanted to try this stuff on. Went in, put the stuff on, t-shirts, hoodies, jumpers, all fucked. They were not sellable. Like, they were massive. Like, an extra small was down to like your kneecaps sort of thing. Like, it was just like nothing was made correctly and stuff. And
So did you send over like sealed patterns and stuff like that?
Yeah.
So sealed samples?
Yeah. So like this is, I'll go into like this in a minute with like the next stage and stuff, but it helps us out all this stuff and with evidence and shit with court and stuff. So you know, they sent the stock in. I went fucking ape shit. I was like, could my life get any worse? Like, everything's going wrong. I was like, I'm getting thousands of complaints all over Twitter, Instagram saying, where the fuck is my stuff? Because this was probably 3 to 4 weeks gone. They still haven't received their order. So we're getting annihilated all over the internet. And then eventually when the stuff comes, I'm like, how am I supposed to send this stock out? And that stock was due into Selfridges as well. So like, you know, I said to him, like, this ain't good enough. Like, this is bollocks. Like, this is not... It's stupid. And then we ended up, we had to send the stock out. Like, we sent all the stock out because we had no choice. It was like, well, if they send it back, they send it back. If they want to keep it, they keep it, sort of thing. So then the majority of it got sent back to us. So our fulfillment bill was through the roof, returns through the roof. We spent months selling everything at like virtually cost price, almost a loss. I think our accounts, we made a gigantic loss in that year. Like, I don't know the exact numbers, but it just completely fucking decimated my business. Like, completely. It was a fucking mess.
It just goes to show you, doesn't it, how...
It was an absolute mess.
Who you get into bed with in business.
It was a fucking mess. Like, and...
How did you feel emotionally at this point? Like, because obviously you've got so much love for something you've crafted out of your bedroom.
Yeah, so this is where, like... I became suicidal again. So like, it was like, because it's all linked. So I got through like, the November stuff was like, fuck, like this is really tough. Like every single day, it was just a nightmare. Because it was like, I've got these extremely professional people trying to steal my brand off me every single day. Like legal letters, everything, like throwing everything at it. Like, you know, you owe us the money, where's the money, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hang on a minute, you fucked up. Nothing fits, and you've sent it weeks late, and it's, you know, there's no contracts and everything. It's like a load of fucking bollocks sort of thing. So, and then obviously I was like, well, hang on a minute, all the stock's getting returned, you know, from the customers. So I was like, well, you know, what's going on here? Like, how do I owe all this money when all the stock's being returned and you've completely destroyed my brand's reputation? So yeah, it just ended up in one massive legal battle. So, and it was from... Obviously, I went through this from November, December, January. So from those 3 months, it was just a mess, just trying to figure out the business, trying to keep that afloat, trying to keep the customers half happy, trying to keep them lot happy. And I was like, okay, they were coming after the money. I was like, right, how do I get out of this? Like, how do I logically get out of this? And the money, what was coming in, was nowhere near the 3 million spent because our brand was not big enough to even, you know, sell that amount of stock. Our bills are going through the roof in fulfillment bills, returns, everything was a mess. And then we were just paying them, you know, as much as we sort of could, a couple $100,000 or whatever, or $200,000. And then I was like, you know, how do I get out of this sort of thing? So I was like, I spoke to Julian, phoned him up, I was like, do you know these guys? And it was like, straight, I was like, fuck, like, yeah. Like, he knew him in like the industry sort of thing. And I was like, okay, I've got, you know, went for another meeting with Julian, and I was like, you know, do you want to do a deal again, sort of thing. So then this went on for like a couple of months. I was like trying to hold these guys off, saying, look, I've got to deal with Julian and stuff, we're going to sort out, you're going to get paid your money, it's all fine. A couple of months went by, and then just like the delay tactics started to get involved and stuff. So it started to like, Julian started to like, you know, delay things, because obviously it puts you under more pressure with them. It's just a business strategy sort of thing. And then, you know, it was like very relaxed, just like, yeah, you know, we'll do a similar sort of deal, like 40% or whatever, we'll sort all this stuff out. And
so now Julian's trying to get the price down.
Yeah. So like, he's like, same sort of deal, this went on. And then I remember, and I was like, this was my hope. So I was like, I was a lot less stressed, because like, I've got someone, you know, this is all going to get fucking sorted out somehow. And then I remember going to Julian's house to literally just finalise everything sort of thing. Like, and then I just remember him saying, you know what, you know, Ash, like, I've gone through it all again, like, properly. I've now had the chance to look at all. I want 90% of the company. So then my gut just fucking, like, sank, and I was like, oh, my God. And this was, like, months of, like, holding them off, like, every day, trying to get this deal over the line. I was like, I'm back at square one. And I just remember leaving this house, got in my car, drove back. I was just in fucking tears, like, in my car. So I was, like, so stressed. Like, it's very hard for me to articulate how much pressure all of that was in those 3 months. Like, everything constantly, every single hour was going wrong at a very, very big scale. Like, you owe 3 million quid to these guys trying to shut you down. You got, angry customers. You got a fucked brand with no stock, and it was just a nightmare. But I don't hold anything against you. It's business at the end of the day. Like, it is what it is. Like, we get on well and stuff. It's just
business.
It's business, mate. Like, it happens.
You just can't take that stuff
I don't take
personal.
anything personal, but it's just like the situation I was in there. I was like, if someone local and stuff can do that, then it opened my eyes. Like, well, if that can happen, and we were fucking half decent mates like a few months ago, but now I'm in a more vulnerable position. 90%. What happens if you go into business with Superdry or whatever, and it's all hunky dory when you've got the control and everything's going nice, but the second you're in and something goes wrong and you don't have the money and the leverage, they quickly fucking turn, and it's not just Superdry, that's anyone in business. Like, you got to be so fucking careful. And it's just a game of leverage, mate. Like, it's whoever's got the leverage and money, like, wins, like, at the end of the day. So you got to be very careful with that. And then left his house, and I was like, I've got home fucking just devastated. And I was like, you know what, you can't give up now. Just write a list on my phone, just like, who can buy my brand and help me out with this. So I just wrote a list of names, DM'd them, and then got one back from, spoke to Ben Francis. I know Ben from Noel Mack. Noel Mack used to be a videographer, didn't he? Yeah, he did one of our first photo shoots in London in like 2016 or whatever. And then just have a drink quick. And then he did one of our photo shoots in 2016 and got chatting and stuff. And then, and obviously I was a massive fan of Gymshark. I went to their first like stand at Body Power with Jeff Side, because I was obsessed with Jeff Side and all that YouTube lot. So when I saw him at the first stand selling all their first blue tracksuits and stuff, like, I was buying it. I was like, love the brand from day one, sort of thing. And then when I've shot with Noel, I was like, just chatting about, Ben, Gymshark and all this stuff, how you should meet and stuff, would go to Nando's and stuff. I think you'd get on. So then we went to Nando's, I think a few weeks later, met Ben, and then just got on since then, sort of thing.
So you're the one that introduced Noel Mack to Ben? No,
so Noel introduced me to Ben. Just went for a Nando's, just chatted about Hera and stuff. And then, that just opened up a door with Ben, sort of thing, throughout the years and stuff. And he's always like, when Superdry come knocking, I spoke to Ben, I was like, what do you think of this? And he'd always advise me and stuff. And then,
what did he advise you?
She said it was a good deal and stuff. You just need to like just think, sort of thing, and just you got to do what you want to do, sort of thing. He didn't give me like a yes or no sort of thing. It was just like sort of that sort of advice, sort of thing. And he said it's difficult, like you can't. There's no crystal ball, sort of thing. So it's just like it's hard to advise on. And then so I phoned Ben. I told him the story I've just told you, and he was like, "What the fuck?" So he's always been so helpful to me. Like, with any major problem I've had, like, it's like he would help me straight away, like, sort of thing. And like, he set up a meeting with Paul and Steve like the following day. I went to Gymshark's office and stuff, met Paul and Steve for the first time, and then told him everything what happened. Just like, Steve couldn't really believe, like I said, like the amount of stock we ordered, because it makes no sense. It's like when you speak to people who are honest and decent, professional people like Paul and Steve, the people I'm working with are a bunch of fucking criminals. So it's just like, well,
Steve's obviously ex-Reebok. He's known the game for a long time.
Yeah, and they're smart. They work with Ben, properly, professionally. Don't screw him. And what they got, $1 billion company. When people try and screw people from day one, what they left with, a massive legal battle and nothing. So it's just like, you're better off building long-term relationships and do it properly and protect your reputation, and then build something together.
Well, you only get one reputation in life, so even when you mentioned the names of these people to Julian, his face even took a moment to step back.
It's all connected. I can go deep, like, it's all connected, and they've got, the people who met me have got a history of doing what they've done to me to other people on the same scale. So it's just like,
do you know of other brands, without mentioning names, that have actually been successfully taken?
Yeah, like massive brand. Like, it's funny. Like, I can't give too much away because they'll link all the names, but it's just funny. The story is nuts, like how they've done it before and they're still doing it now. And I've had people DM me, kids, and someone off Love Island DM me saying, "Oh, I watched your podcast. Did this a couple of years ago with Danny Bucks? Like, I think it's the same agent guy who we're working with, and they're doing fucking X, Y, and Z, and like, they're telling me they need to put the trademark in their name and all this stuff, and taking money, and like they're doing it to these kids, and like this time they're taking equity in their brands before they even have a chance to to get out. So it's just
the game is that they're not meant to have a chance, are they?
No.
The game,
they prey on young kids.
Because most of this, I know this young guy called Lester Javalona. He's got many successful dropshipping brands, and I think he's going into brands, and he's an absolute wizard. He scales the fuck out of them, and it's like when you got someone who's talented like that at scaling brands and making like between $5 and $10 million a year, they'll prey on someone like that because they're
not talented.
Because they are talented, but perhaps they haven't got the big brand experience. And when you got someone that's been in the game 20 years in the fashion space, whoever controls not just the actual company itself, but controls the flow of stock to a company can shut you down overnight.
Yep.
And it's like a lot of people don't realise that.
Yeah, it's money, power. Whoever has the money has the control.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
So what are your key? If you were going to give some key bits of advice then in terms of how to keep the leverage in your hand as an ecom brand owner for as long as possible, what advice would you give?
Just have the money. Like, you need to have a profitable business, so you're not reliant on investors. Profit. Like, if you've got a profitable business and your contracts are rock solid and you own the majority share and stuff, and even if you don't have the majority share, make sure these shareholders agreements aren't tricked with like loads of fucking traps and stuff, which they are. So you just got to be very careful and stuff. But yeah, just going back to that story and stuff, like where I met Paul and Steve, they then went away, phoned us back again, and then put in an offer. I'm sharing this because I know Paul's obviously mentioned it, so I know it's public. So they offered to buy 75%. Yeah.
Well, Gymshark. This is Gymshark. Yeah.
Gymshark. Yeah. 75% of Hera to clear the debt, basically. So I wouldn't have received anything personally and stuff. And then the money would have just completely. Their legal team would have taken care of this whole mess going on, and they would have paid them off, cleared them off, and then they'd have injected cash into the business, which was an unbelievable offer. Like, it's the best offer you probably receive in that moment, sort of thing.
So how much do you think they would have injected?
I don't know. They're very clever in terms of, like, they know how to run a business properly, like profitably. They built Gymshark with very little capital injected into the company. It stayed profitable, and they've scaled it to 200 million before they even raise money from GA. Yeah. So like, they know how to build a profitable business, high margin business, which is the key to it. So yeah, they know what they're doing. So probably not a lot of money, to be honest. It would have needed some cash just to, get it going again and just put some life into it, but not a lot. And then, but at the same time, I had another person who was the founder of one of the biggest fast fashion brands in the whole of Manchester, interested in buying the company. So I met him as well, and then told him the names and stuff. And he I was in his boardroom. He literally rang the phone in front of me and on loudspeakers, like, "Do you know so and so?" I was like, "Yeah, he's a cunt." And then and then so I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then we're dealing with like some proper
shade
chess player, like high level chess businessmen. You're not fucking around with like these Joe Blog like people. They're very smart, calculated people. And I was 22 at the time, so just like, bro, they're like in the.
What was his
50s.
advice?
So they helped me throughout the whole process. So like, I spoke to Gymshark. I was like, I'm speaking to somebody else. They were like, look, we'll give you our legal team. They can speak to me, and I felt like someone was actually like, the way their legal team dealt with it was like so good, because it was like, they felt like it was on my side. Someone's actually understanding my point of view, my story, what they've done, and how they've fucking done it all, and they're actually listening. It was like, then we started to build up a fucking real case. Like, we were up till 12, 1 o'clock every single morning, just trawling through emails, like evidence, and then we were just finding so much evidence of like things they were not doing. Like, we'd asked them for the scaling documents. We'd sent them scaling documents like I think 6 times in a row, and they ignored every email, which is which is why all the stuff was so long, and it all like makes sense why they ignored that email, because they didn't want to scale it the way we wanted it. So all this stuff played into our hands with all the legal stuff. So they spent January, February, March, April, May, June, July. It took 7 months.
And so Gymshark are letting you use their legal team?
No, so this was the fast fashion founder.
Yeah. So he was letting you use their legal team?
Yeah.
For free?
It wasn't free, no. Like, I was paying the bills and stuff. But then obviously Gymshark put that offer and was like, I think I'm going to pursue, because Gymshark, look, we've we don't want to waste time, just give us a yes or no, we're not interested if you're going to potentially looking at other offers, like it's like take it or leave it sort of thing. I was like, to this day I was like, that was the deal, that I should have taken that Gymshark deal 1,000,000,000%. Like in hindsight, great deal. But I think it's because for me, I was angry that my head was not clear in terms of like so much has happened all in this one time period. I've gone from owning a brand which was valued at X amount to now it's got fucked because of these people, and now I'm having to sell it at a massive discount. And even though the deal and the circumstance was unbelievable, but for me psychologically, it was like I wanted to fight and get out of this myself and try and
is that the entrepreneurial ego coming in there?
1,000,000%. I wouldn't say it's. I'm 1,000,000% entrepreneurial. Like, could I work? Would I have lasted 2 minutes in Gymshark? No. Like, I know what would have happened. Like, I would have gone in with them. It might have worked, like, for me, but
Ben's gonna have an opinion. Steve's gonna have an opinion. Yeah, Paul would have had an opinion. Everyone's gonna have an opinion,
which is completely right. Like, it's their business. Like, when you give up control and 75%, it's no longer your business. I would have been an employee at Hera. That's what you are. You're an employee.
But owning 25% of it.
Yeah, but you own 25%, but your employment can be cancelled at any time. Like, it's not set in stone because you don't own control. So, like, in any company, you can get fired, and then I'd have no salary, and then you'd be at a normal job until you could sell you 25% in 3 or 4 years' time. So I was like, it's still risky for me, and I didn't want to. My lifestyle was nuts at the time. I was like, I had fucking stupid houses, Lamborghinis, my expenses were high as fuck. So I was like,
so you'd gone from like equivalent to being like the underprivileged kid on the estate, to having the Huracan, to having the lavish clothes, to renting the house that's far too big for you to live in.
Yeah, so I've lived in Winchcombe originally with my parents, and then moved to Cheltenham, which is only like 7 miles away. But yeah, when I got the Lamborghini and stuff, it was just like, because I'm very, very impulsive. Like, I don't think, like, very extremely impulsive and erratic. Like, I could wake up today and just fly to Vegas if I thought, let's just go to Vegas sort of thing. So, like, when I got that Lamborghini, I remember driving it into
We'll go after the podcast then.
Yeah.
Fucking do it.
Yeah.
I was going to
I'm not vaccinated, so I'm not allowed in.
Don't worry, I can sort that. I've got phone calls to make. Don't worry about that. But, mate, I was going to take you to Nando's, but Las Vegas sounds all right. But it's true. When you see this, especially in ECOM, the industry itself. A lot of people are building these phenomenal brands from their bedroom, and the first thing they go and do, or the first thing they want to do, I was even speaking to Lester about this as well. It's like the first thing they want to do is buy a Lamborghini.
Big mistake.
Massive. So tell me, why is that a mistake in your mind?
Because I wasn't financially illiterate, like in terms of like didn't have monthly management accounts. I didn't know what P&L was, didn't know what balance sheet was, didn't know any of it. I was just blind for 3 or 4 years, and just miraculously it all like panned out, like sort of thing.
How did you? In terms of like, I've spoken to a few entrepreneurs about this as well. It's like, how did you structure buying the Lambo? Did you go and rent it on hire purchase, or did you go and pay cash for it, or how did you do that?
So that one, they wanted 90 grand up front because I was 21,
right?
21, and then obviously I've met Carl Hartley, who sorted out all my cars and stuff. Lamborghini wouldn't touch me with the barge pole. A lot of them were like no, and then
Hartley's massive, isn't he?
Yeah, met Carl, and then luckily he had like a finance guy who were more lenient on risk, but there's more upfront costs. Usually it wouldn't cost you barely anything, like 10% or whatever. Yeah. So I was like, fuck, I've got to pay 90 grand. So I paid the 90, and then I had to pay monthly. But I always rent. I would rent. Even if I was a billionaire, I'd rent my car.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd always rent, because it's just pointless burning money on that. It's stupid.
But did what I want to know is, did the Lamborghini, when you bought it, give you what you thought it was going to give you in terms of like the status, the feeling of worth, and everything else? Did you put that into it, or was that?
I just love cars. Like I've always loved cars. Like even it's funny, like when my mates like walking years ago, like say if a Lamborghini would drive past, I'd be like, fuck, look at that car. And they're like, bro, you own one. I was like, yeah, but I haven't seen it drive past like that. Like I love cars. Like
then I think buying a Lamborghini when you've got a business like yours that's turned over the money is fine because you actually genuinely love cars.
And it's only the sound I like. Like I've tried a Ferrari and I got rid of it in 3 weeks because it didn't sound anywhere near like Lamborghini.
Yeah,
if Lamborghini didn't have the sound, I would not be driving a Hurricane because it's a pain in the ass.
I'd never seen what's that
Urus.
one? The Urus. I'd never seen the Urus in real life until you drove it on the driveway.
Yeah.
And when you drove it on the driveway, I was like, "Fuck, these are fucking nicer than I thought." You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like they're a cool car. Like it's a privilege to know that you've worked hard and generated enough capital to be able to go and get one. Yeah. It's fucking great.
But that money's always better off than business. Like, it's stupid. Don't buy one. Like, that money is if you're serious about growing your business, and like, you have to be very fucking disciplined and don't piss your money on stupid crap. Like I did. I did. A lot of money. So it's just like, if you're very disciplined and you're on payroll, so you don't have any unexpected tax bills and all this stuff, and you just keep your expenses low, then you have more profit left over to grow your business. Yeah. But if you're spending the majority... I definitely created a lifestyle business for 1,000,000% because I was so obsessed with, like, I love spending money. Like, I was a big problem. Yeah. Like, I was just like, I loved, traveling to Ibiza, Vegas, watching McGregor fights. I loved, cars, and it's just money being drained out of that. I
had a little bit of a sit-down meditation with myself the other day, and I'd realised that I'd started to fall into this lifestyle type thing again. Yeah. Not in terms of like buying extravagant stuff, but in terms of like I needed to focus on the generation and to fall in love with the making the money. Not fall in love with just the podcast and just this, because obviously this cost me a lot of money to produce it and everything else like this. But you got to really bring it back to the fact of like, don't feel guilty for the fact that you want to be rich or wealthy as fuck. Don't feel guilty about that. Like, that should be your whole goal, because everything in life gets better when you first become rich and then you become wealthy. Yeah. Like, and all riches, as far as I'm concerned, is like, once you can do whatever you want to do with, more, once you can do more than what you want to do with the amount of money that you've got, and you got the freedom of time, you're rich. Yeah. To become wealthy, you got to have fuck you money. Yeah. Right? There's a real difference between the two terms, but it's like there's nothing wrong with falling in love with money or loving money, and it really dawned on me the other day that you shouldn't feel fucking guilty about that.
Yeah, 100%. And just going back to that story, so I close it off. So like, obviously I had the Gymshark stuff, and then politely was like, I want to pursue the fast fashion founder, and so I went down that path. This was January all the way up until July. So it was 5 months of, how do we get out of this sort of like, right, we need to think tactically together, board meeting every week. And then it was just like talking to their legal team constantly. And this was when I was seriously depressed and suicidal again, because it was like the pressure.
Is the brand still at this point ticking over selling stock? Yeah. Or is everything... Have you now got a new supplier that's supplying the right clothes?
Yeah,
still selling...
So we went back to our Turkey manufacturer, started to manufacture things again, which was our own quality and stuff. People were still keeping some of the stock, but a lot of it was getting returned as well. But luckily, because a lot of our percentage were jeans, the jeans were fine because our Turkey manufacturer manufactured them for us.
Oh, right, yeah.
So luckily, our jeans kept us alive during that period. But in terms of like legal bills, like we spent like over 200 grand, like easily, in legal bills in that 7 month period, just fucking pissing money away. And then
and that's another thing I want people to understand is that when one brand wants to kill another brand, one of the tactics they will use is what they call legal warfare, where they'll keep the legal case going for as long as they think that until you run out of money and can't fight it anymore, and then they'll take you out.
Yeah. So like the two investors who put the money in, like they tried doing a winding up petition against the company. So they try and put a winding up petition in, basically, which goes public, and then you have to stop trading. So
how does that work? Because I don't understand that.
So like if they speak to them, they claim we're owed 3 million quid. They've defaulted on the payment. We want our money. They're insolvent. They can't pay their debts as they fall due. That's what it means. So send a letter, you get a letter from the post and you have to defend it. So this is where the legal team come in.
Yeah, because you have to defend it, don't you?
Yeah, and mate, I haven't even described it well, like, enough of, like, all this stuff going on, like, how I was feeling, like, when all this stuff was going on. Like, I had to go into work, put on a brave face, pretend nothing was going on, trying to run a business, which is hard enough to try and grow that and just keep it afloat sort of thing, and dealing with all this fucking pressure and shit from everyone.
Yeah,
not thinking I'm going to have a brand. I woke up every day like, is Ryan going to fucking be shut down tomorrow?
Is it even worth me going in today?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Like, I was literally breaking down, like, constantly. Like, I had to fucking.
Have you still at this point got this lavish lifestyle that you probably shouldn't be spending money on?
No, not really. Like, I still do it. Like, in terms of, like,
no, at this time I'm talking.
At the time, I had no choice. I was tied into it. It's like my car tied into it. And to be honest, I wouldn't even think about it. I was just like, so obviously I didn't go. I cut back on obviously a lot of stuff because everything was just like fucking. All my time and attention was going into this fucking thing. And during that period, 4-month period, I think I gained like 50 pounds in weight.
Wow, man.
So like when I say I was stressed and suicidal,
because they say that stress, you know,
it was horrific.
And it leads to eating, doesn't it, and stuff.
Yeah, and it was when the fast fashion founder got involved. I was like, okay, it's all fine. Like, you know, I feel a lot better. I feel I've got people on my side defending me now. You know, I've got people behind me who are a lot bigger than these fuckers. And then, so we spent 5 months with our legal team getting a very solid. Our case was rock solid. Like, the evidence stacked up completely what they tried to do. And then, basically, it was my birthday on the 8th of July, and every single year I go to Ibiza for my birthday with my mates. And a week later was the court date where they decide whether they sort of take it or not. And like throughout this period with the fast fashion founder and stuff, like as we got into it and stuff, like I wanted them to invest like say a minimum like £1 million for. I think the deal was like for them to buy 40% of the company for like £1 million. And I was like, can you please just do it as equity? So like you just clear the debt off. And when I say $1 million, it's because he could have literally got this guy in a room, sat him down and said, you're getting this, and fuck off, basically. Otherwise, we're just going to shut the company down and I'll buy it in administration and you're fucked anyway, sort of thing. Like, he would have negotiated him down to the bare minimum, or he's wiped out anyway. So that's what should have happened. And we should have just done that from day one without all this legal aggravation.
Yeah, you should have just folded it and started a new company next day.
Yeah, that's what we should have done. We should have just negotiated with him straight away, but that wasn't the long-term plan of the fast fashion founder sort of thing. It was and this is where things started like.
That's why you have limited companies, because at the end of the day, someone turns up at your door and comes at you for this, and this. You're like, you know what? Shut the fucker down. I'll start another one next day.
Yeah, and the problem is like it got dragged out, and then things started to slow down, and I was like, this don't seem right. We were like, it seemed like we're all on the same side, and now all of a sudden it's like there's a separation going on, and now it's, you know, they don't want to do equity. It's a loan. So like the fast fashion founder was going to give me a loan to pay these lot off.
Yeah.
And then I owed the founder.
Now you've just moved the debt from one load of sharks to another load of sharks.
I'm not calling them sharks, so I don't know. Like, it's just like,
but potentially, you kind of just you're not really solving the problem, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're not solving the problem. So it's just like, and I said that, I was like, what's the point, sort of thing. And then, but I used it, and then it got further down. I was like, you know what? I've come this far. I've got the legal team. Fucking court dates due in fucking 2 weeks. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, this might be my last ever time I go to Ibiza with my mates, so I'm just going to fucking Ibiza and fuck everything. I was like, I'm going to Ibiza, and I went and just fucking, I was in Ocean Beach, and my mates like sat in the corners, like I was just fucking on the phone constantly to my legal team, like constantly just fucking sorting this crap out. And this one, I remember it was like, must have been like 7 a.m, just got back up from somewhere or whatever, and I was literally on the balcony in my room on my own, and I phoned someone. So I phoned the two, one of the sales agents. I phoned him up because remember, during this whole process, I was very strategic and tactical with what I was doing. Like, in terms of, I knew the two sales agents were not on my side and they were very involved with them, but they didn't know I knew that. So I kept the two sales agents on side, and I fed them information because I knew it would go back to them fuckers. So I phoned the sales agent in Ibiza. I was like, look, I know you two are a pair of fucking scumbags. I know you're involved with them. I know the whole thing. And said, you think I've done this whole 6 months all by myself? I said, I've got fucking billionaire behind me. See you next week in court. And then hung up. And then a couple of hours later, phone rings. It's my other solicitor, because obviously I've still got my own one in London, who I used to use. And then I used the one in Manchester, which was theirs. So I was using my own solicitor on the side still.
Yeah.
To obviously to advise me, because I know that legal team is obviously best friends with the founder, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I couldn't trust what I was saying to them to go back to him. So I was like, had my own guy behind me in my back pocket secretly. And then, he phoned me and just said, what's been said, what's happened. They want to do a deal with you, like right now, sort of thing. Like, they want to get a contract sorted for what you agreed. They said they want it signed off the next day. And then it just got thrashed out that day,
and what was
contract. So I thought it was a massive victory, because I was like, I've kept 100% of my brand somehow.
Yeah.
I haven't sold it to anyone. I've kept 100%. The deal was they knocked £1 million off the 3 million owed because of the damages, and then it was agreed £2 million. I had to pay them back over 4 years, so £500,000 per year, which was £41,000 roughly every single month since 2017.
And you thought that was a victory?
At the time.
Fuck me, bro.
Because I was fucked. Like, at the time...
It hurts my heart just thinking about it.
Yeah, but this was 7 months.
Of
7
anguish.
months
Yeah.
every day. And I couldn't believe that it was fucking over. The day I signed that, I was like, fuck me, it's over.
But to know every month before you even open the doors, before you've paid staff, before you've even looked at anything, you owe 41 grand.
Yeah, so Hera died in 2017. Dead. Like, my creativity, what I did, me controlling Hera, died in 2017. Like, what could I do? Like, we were doing 6 million a year gross, so net you're doing about 5. If you're hitting 10% net profit margin, which is the industry standard for that sort of thing, and that's what we were hitting, your profit should be 500 grand a year if you remain extremely hit that 10% profit margin. And my debt was 40,000 times 12, so 400, half a mil pretty much.
Yeah.
So my debt was 100% my net profit, which is fucking mental. Like, the maximum that should ever be is like a third, like in debt, like a third. So if you're making 40 grand a month in profit, the maximum you should spend in debt, covering debt payments, is a third, which is, 15, is it 15? Just 12 grand, something like that.
Yeah.
13,000 max. Mine was 100%. And I did that every single month from 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. I went 4 years straight on a fucking hamster wheel.
Paid it off.
I was just waking up to pay debt, bro. Like, I couldn't do anything with the brand because there's
no
money to grow.
You were basically a founder of a brand that on the outside is successful. Yeah. It's not only trapped, but you've basically got yourself a job.
Yeah, I couldn't grow
because you can't grow. You can't do nothing. You can't move. You literally, it must take your fucking soul.
That's what I still talk to fast fashion founder, by the way. Like, we get on and stuff. Like, we've had countless meetings and stuff since trying to buy it and stuff and all this stuff. But it's just like he said, like the same thing you said. That must be fucking soul destroying, and it was. It's just like but that shows it's a bad thing and a good thing. Like, it's that never give up thing in me, and I just didn't give up. Like, I grinded for 4 years straight, thinking once these fucking payments are gone, I can carry on where I left off. But mate, 4 years is far too long before your brand starts to like, where the fuck is it going? Because and this is what people probably think. They're like, Hera fell off. Hera's done this. Like,
where you growing?
Hera?
Where you growing at all?
I maintained our revenue for 4 years straight. So
you managed to keep it at 6 mil.
Yeah.
For
every fucking years. Mate, that is my biggest accomplishment. If you ask any massive company I've spoken to and stuff, and they've looked at
I don't know how you've done it.
That's what they all say.
I don't know how the fuck you've done that, because you've got no money to spend on innovation.
Nope. But that shows how powerful that fucking brand was. Like, what I had in 2017, the potential of that brand was so special, and it could have gone to the fucking moon. Because, like Paul went on to your podcast and the previous podcast, his words were, Ben Francis said it's one of the strongest brands he's ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, he did say that.
Do you know what I mean? So like,
I know he said it because it's on your website and I've seen the clip.
Yeah, clip that. So it's just like, what a compliment from one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the whole of fucking England. So it's just like, you know, it's nuts, and it's crazy to think where Hera would have been.
That's why I love this, man.
If that moment in 2017 never happened, if that whole shit show didn't happen, and we had someone professional come in and scale it properly, where would the brand be now? Like 5 years later, it's mental, but it is what it is. It happened. But yeah, it's just one of them things that just fucking annoy me, because it's just like, you know, I get the blame, and it's just like, I don't think
it's a blame thing.
Not blame, but just like, you know, Hera from 2017 till now, not me. Like, yes, I'm there, but I can't do jack shit. My biggest mistake was not raising money to get rid of that debt, because I didn't have the financial literacy and knowledge and understanding of how debt worked until
because to be honest, like, thinking about it now, objectively, you could have gone and raised 6 mil at 0 point something percent or 1% or whatever you could get the debt for. You could have raised it against the brand. You could have paid off the debt, and then you could have put that into innovation and innovated.
It'd be hard for me to raise debt, because obviously back then, like, they still want stuff like banks and stuff. They want your house or whatever and all this stuff. Like, how would you have done it differently then? Sold equity. Just sold equity. 1,000,000,000,000%. I should have taken that Gymshark deal, because I wouldn't have had to go through 7 months of hell dealing with all this shit, and they would have grown it. If you really think, if Gymshark would have taken it over, if I'd have said yes, I would have had no stress for 7 months. I'd have won, because I've sold to Gymshark.
Yeah.
I look successful as fuck, because I've taken it to 2017.
Yeah.
Sold to Gymshark. They're going to blow it up, and I still own 25%. I'm still the founder.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And no one could take that away from you.
Unbelievable. So it's just like, and then if you think of money lost, it's like, okay, well, they could have bought it when it was doing 6 million in revenue 5 years ago. If they would have even grew at 12, 20, even if they grew it to 30 or 40 million in 5 years, which was probably highly possible.
Your 25% is still worth more than your revenue.
And they sold at 4 times revenue. If it was all, if Hera was valued at the same as Gymshark as a group, you know, Hera could have been valued at 100 plus mil, or ifs, buts, and maybes if everything aligned, and then 25% of that could have been worth a lot.
They could have been like Hera X Gymshark collab deals and all sorts of shit.
A lot could have happened, yeah.
It could have been a beautiful synergy.
There would have been, yeah. And
because Hera would have brought the going outside
been perfect, yeah.
to Gymshark, and they knew that, and that's why they offered you the money for the brand.
Yeah, and then, but for me, it was just like, I still had that I really looked up to this fast fashion brand and owner, because like how they market shit is like cool as fuck. They smash everything. Like, all their brands are cool. They know what they're doing, and so did Gymshark and stuff. But my only sway to like that one was like,
because that was fashion, and that was streetwear, and this was gymwear.
Yeah, the gymwear, Ben and Gymshark and stuff was like the business side. Tick, 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 tick. Fucking, you couldn't get any more perfect. The only thing the other guys had, which was like playing on my mind, was like the fast fashion model and the streetwear. I know they smashed the campaigns with, so it was like playing on my mind a bit, and I went that direction, which was, you know, that. And
a lot of these fast fashion brands, they have wicked marketing, but the product, when you actually break it down, is shit.
Yeah,
like. But, you know, like Shine and all that, Shein or whatever they're called, they're massive. But the products, the girls buy them, they throw them away because it's crap.
I think they're worth like 8 times more than Zara now.
Yeah, it's fucking mad. But at least when you go into Zara, you get a quality pair of jeans, or you get a quality t-shirt. You know, this is from fucking Zara. It's just a nice fitting t-shirt, isn't it? Like, mate, when I was in Barcelona, I bought this for €9 fucking.
Yeah, it's mad.
Do you know what I'm saying? €9.
Yeah.
That thing, you know.
And even before this crap happened, like in 2017, like, the people we were getting the brand on, like, we got the brand on OBJ from America, Brooklyn Beckham, Romeo Beckham, Hailey Bieber, Lewis Hamilton. They all wore Hera.
How did you go about acquiring? So these people who run clothing brands now that listen to this, so the young ones out there, the hustlers, how can they get their clothing onto these people?
Very hard. Like, you just need to know people, and luckily I just managed to find a connect who just is very linked to all these people, and I'm just very good at somehow networking with people and finding out things. And I don't even mean to do it. I'm just good at it. Like, my contact list of people, and to have access to these sort of people, is extremely fucking hard. But at the same time, I had the bollocks to pay them all. Like, I had the balls. Yeah, I'll fucking give you 50 grand. Yeah, 100%. I'll give you 100 grand. Because I didn't give a fuck what the ROI was. I don't care. Yeah. You could make 0 sales. I know for a fact that you wearing it and post on Instagram is going to make the brand look cool. Yeah. And it was just based off, I know it's going to make the brand look cool. And then even with the McGregor stuff, like I was in Cheltenham just in a beer garden just with my mates. It was like 5 o'clock, beautiful day. And then saw on Instagram, he was at Aintree, the picture where he's got his Louis Vuitton glass on his shirt, and there's like this bodyguard guy in front of him who I knew. And then he was like, oh yeah, Connor's going to this after party, he's doing a PA there, you know, come and just bring a t-shirt sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, okay, right, I'm coming. I had to say my mates are like, oh, I don't want to, you know, it's late, I've got girlfriends, whatever. So I was like, just shut up, we're going. Just got on the train, 2 hours to Liverpool, checked into the hotel, went straight to the club, took a black Hera t-shirt with me. And then I literally spoke to the bodyguard guy I knew who was working with Connor and stuff, and then managed to get up to like his sort of entourage table sort of thing, and then started speaking to like a couple of his like friends, and then I think it was like his manager, like one of his managers, and I was like, look, I own this brand called Hera, would Connor be interested in wearing my t-shirt, and I'll pay him and stuff. And next thing I know, he grabs Connor and we're getting escorted through the club, me, Connor, his friend, bodyguard, and all this stuff. They kick everyone out the toilet, and then they lock the doors, and then me and Connor and his manager was just locked in the cubicle together, just 3 of us, and I was like, fucking hell. Now I need to start talking, sort of thing. And then I was like, look, I own a brand called Hera, would you be interested in wearing it, taking a quick picture, and I'll pay you 25 grand. Like, I'll pay you 25 grand to wear a t-shirt and just take a picture of me now. And then it was like, oh, you know, have you got the money cash now? I was like, oh, no, I don't carry 25 grand. I didn't have 25 grand in cash lying around. And then, but because it's like an Irish bank account and stuff, I couldn't just wire 25 grand anyway. So there's a lot of negotiating. He was like close to walking out. Like there's moments where I was like, you know, nah, fuck this. I don't trust all this stuff. Like, and all this stuff is high risk. And then I was like thinking on my feet, I was like, okay, right, what the fuck do I have? How do I prove that I am who I am, sort of thing? And then luckily, because all the Lamborghini crap in Cheltenham got a lot of press and stuff from Daily Mail and headlines of Lamborghinis, me, Geordie Shore, Hera. And I showed him that. I was like, look, my name, 21, Hera, pictures of me. I drive a fucking Lamborghini. Here's Shopify reports. Here's my sales and all this stuff. And then it was like, okay. Then he started to listen. It was like, right. He said, do you promise me now that you're going to transfer me the 25K? I was like, I swear on my, I promise you that you'll have 25 grand by tomorrow morning. And then he was like, fuck it. And then he literally grabbed the top, put the top on, took the photo, and then took the picture. And then next.
So where was the picture taken? In the actual club?
Yeah, it was in the club toilet. Yeah.
The picture was in the club toilet?
Luckily, the lighting was decent. So like, there's mirrors and lights and stuff, so it looked decent, but that was in a toilet.
Fucking hell.
So that just opened up a massive door, because then the next day, had a phone call. I was in my living room, Cheltenham, at I think it was like 8 o'clock at night, watching Love Island. And then phone rang. It was like a Dublin number. Picked up, and I was like, oh, then it was like Connor on the phone, like speaking. And it was like, oh, just thank you. Just wanted to say, it's good to meet you. Thank you for holding on to your word. I really respect that. Thank you for transferring the 25 grand. So I transferred the money, because from his point of view, I could have taken the picture and just, he'd never see me again. I'm bounced, I'm gone. But transferred the money straight away, and then opened up a door to his management, started speaking to him. And then, you know, think about a month or 2 months later, he was about to fight Floyd Mayweather. So I flew out to Dublin again to do another deal with him before he fought Floyd Mayweather. And then he wore that salmon t-shirt and he took a professional photo, and then paid him 50 grand to do that. And then he posted it on his actual Instagram page to 30 million people a week before he fought Floyd Mayweather. All the attention. And what did we sold out on salmon teas, but I wasn't prepared, because all this happened so fast. I was like, if I knew we were going to do this, it wasn't a plan. It was like, if it was a plan, you'd have thousands.
You spent 50. What did you make on the back of it?
I didn't give a fuck. I didn't calculate. I didn't know. All I know is our salmon teas sold out like that, but we didn't have barely any. So it was like, if you knew this was going to be planned like this, you'd order thousands of salmon teas ready.
I can't believe you gave him a t-shirt you didn't have a lot of stock of.
I just didn't. I don't know why. It was just like, we didn't have a lot of stock of any of them. Like, it wasn't like loads. It wasn't anywhere near the demand. Anything we had in stock, was nowhere near the demand that would have caused. So, but like I said, I wasn't doing it. My thinking just wasn't like, oh, what's the fucking ROI? Like, the ROI is Conor fucking McGregor wearing your brand.
Do you know what?
And people talk about it 5 or 6 years later.
I love that, because it's like, you've personally seen me drive all over the country for these podcasts, right? And people have said, fucking hell, Frankie, you're going all over the fucking... You've been to Portsmouth, you've been fucking... And these are fucking like 3 or 4 hour drives in the country. It doesn't sound like a lot, but by the time it's fucking days, I'm putting up on hotels, all this stuff, and people say, why are you doing it? I'm like, because I fucking love it, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't quantify what you love, and I think that's why you sunk so much. You dropped 25 bags here and 50 bags here for them to wear these shirts.
Yeah, I just understand brand. Like, I don't... People overlook how powerful these people are.
Yeah,
like, they're just so... like suits, like, oh, what's the ROI? It's just like, the ROI is people are talking about 5 years later on podcasts and all this stuff, and it's like always remembered. I'm gonna remember it when I'm 70 years old. Like, how cool was that when you got it on our generation of, like, he is literally our Muhammad Ali, like, in terms of like what he's achieved and stuff. Like, he's one of the biggest people in the world. So it's just like, he's still
nuts. I mean, even if he was in IB for the other week causing a row, and he went viral on TikTok again, it's like he's always someone that's going to cause a stir, this, that and the other, so you know you're going to get an ROI. And when the press want a picture to use, they use your one. Fucking bingo bongo.
Yeah.
You've won again.
Yeah, and what other brand has got their brand on those people?
And I suppose once you got your brand on these kind of influencers, these kind of celebrities, you can then use that photo again and again and again and again, and you can't take that away from a brand.
No, it's massive. It's just influencer marketing on like a gigantic, massive scale of, like, you know, the biggest people in the world.
And who else big did you get it on?
Odell Beckham Jr., massive in America. It's cool massive, as fuck for fashion. All the Beckhams wear it constantly. Like, Brooklyn wears it, Flat Out, Romeo. Even David Beckham posted.
What, still now?
I don't know if still now. There's always been pictures of, like, them cropping up, wearing the same hoodie and jackets and stuff. And then David Beckham, I think a year ago, posted on his actual Instagram page with his son Romeo wearing a Hera hoodie on his actual Instagram page for free. 45 million followers, whatever he's got.
Yeah, mad.
Lewis Hamilton, Hailey Bieber, Sophia Richie, Steve Aoki. It's massive people.
And you just have some of these people bought these pieces, or have you just sent them to everybody?
No, so that was all, like, strategically, like, you know, I've got contacts to them. Yeah, I will pay you.
Because a lot of how some of my friends have done it, and done it very successfully at certain brands, I won't mention names, but what they did was they found out the stylists.
Yeah.
And they used to send product to the stylist, and the stylist used to put it on all the celebs, and they used to pay the backhanders to the stylist, and the stylist would dress it up. Yeah. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, that's a clever way.
It's a clever way of strategically placing your product wherever you want to place it.
Yeah.
I thought, fuck me, that's ingenious.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so simple, but I think with anything online and with anything that, like what you're talking about in terms of the brands that you've built, the simpler is the best route.
Yeah.
It's like it always yields the best result, and it's like you don't even need to know the ROI of Conor McGregor. It's so fucking true. It's like, who gives a fuck? It's Conor fucking McGregor.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's kind of next for you?
Yeah, so, like, obviously recently it's gone quite quick. October 2021, I sold the company. So this was, like, not a quick process. So, like, you know, through the years, like I've said, Superdry, Gymshark, you know, there's 2 or 3 other
big brands,
billion-pound companies, like, in boardrooms with them trying to buy my brand and stuff. Like, throughout that whole 2018, 2019, 20 period, the fast fashion founder constantly, we tried to negotiate probably every year, but because we were so stubborn, like, he wants to buy stuff for, like, next to nothing, because that's what they do in terms of, like, which is the best way to do it, is like they go bankrupt, they can buy it for pennies on the pound or whatever. But with me, I was like, oh, hang on a minute, my brand's not bankrupt, so, you know, I want a fair price for it. But they couldn't adjust his mindset to it, so, which, fair enough, like, is what it is, sort of thing. But it never happened. But we tried constantly, but and I learned so much from being around him, talking to him constantly, negotiating with him, because he is one of the best people in the world at negotiating. Like, it's hard, motherfucker. Like, it's
100%. Exactly what you're saying in terms of how brands move. I was speaking to Ty Lopez about it, because I'm hoping to get him on the podcast. Yeah. But he all he's doing essentially is buying defunct brands that were like that had a name, that have a nostalgia to them.
It's the best possible way to do it.
But he's buying them. But he's buying them. He's buying them for no money down, even in some cases. And just taking the brand, turn it into an ecom brand, and then using his team that he's built, which is what this fast fashion was going to do. They're just going to plug their team into what would be like a bankrupt Hera at this point, and then they're just fucking cash flow it.
Yeah.
It's
but
genius.
this is what happens. Like you can honestly build a 20, 30, 50, 100 million pound business, and you can own 100% of it. But if this is why people watching, just do not fuck with debt, because debt will kill you. Like if you have too much debt in your company and you cannot fulfill that debt with your profit, you can go bankrupt and lose everything. And that's how these type Lopez and all these other companies, that's what happens.
They come grab it.
That's why I said money is power, and whoever has the money has the control.
Whoever can afford to spend the most amount of money to acquire the customer wins.
Yeah, and even like with the brand stuff, like, you know, if you're a founder and stuff and you've got no personal money, but you're taking these gigantic risks in buying stock and all this stuff, and if it goes wrong and, you know, you can't afford to pay it back, these people with the money swoop in, take it for pennies on the pound, nothing, because it's worth nothing. Yeah. And then, because all these creditors are unsecured, majority of them, they get wiped out, they buy the brand for nothing, you're left with zero, and that's how it works.
Yeah, and you've built the brand equity.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And the IP, which is what they're buying, and they just literally plug their whole back end team, marketing, and everybody that you need to scale is with these $100 billion brands. That they just plug that back end into this what it seems like a bankrupt brand, and they could blow it up. And, you know,
it's only bankrupt for a minute. Like it's bankrupt on paper, but then when someone with money comes in, they're not bankrupt. It's the same gigantic brand.
So if you're an e-commerce brand that wants to scale to, you know, you maybe turn over a couple of million, you want to scale it up, you want to ramp it up, like Davey Fogarty with the Uddy. How do you finance that drive up? Do you just
from profit? Like
you literally just saying, just pull it out your profit and just grow organically.
There's no other way to grow. Like the only.
What about Wayflyer and things like that?
Yeah, so they're good. So like, say for example, like Clearbank and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they will, which is very, very, very good technology, and we're very lucky to have innovation and technology like this come in and stuff. And Shopify have even cottoned onto it, and they now do Shopify payments or Shopify something where they lend people money now, because it's all analytics and data.
They can see what you do.
They can predict revenue. So like, right, we'll lend you, you know, X amount now. We'll give you it tomorrow. Like, it'll be in your bank, whatever. And then we just take 10% or 20% of your revenue coming in daily until we pay the money we've loaned you plus, say, 10, 20% interest or whatever it is. It's high interest, but it's still good. And then, but again, like I go back to it, it's debt. You have to have the profit to cover the debt.
I know. And the amount of people that don't understand, because all people tend to think about is the exit and the multiple on the exit. And they're trying to jam up these brands and hockey stick the growth to get this multiple on the exit, right? But profitability is fucking everything.
Yeah. Unless your business model is to raise as much money as possible constantly, but then you're constantly on the fucking loop of like having to raise money, then you get diluted into nothing. And
you've spent your whole time building a brand and building something you like to find out that you've just got a job with fuck all equity in it.
Yeah, and also like they don't always work. Like these private equity companies, venture capital companies, you know, there's Nasty Girl went badly wrong. I know other brands which went badly wrong from people promising we can grow you at this rate, giving them too much capital to grow, and then all of a sudden it just fucking collapses.
Well, essentially, if you flood a company with too much capital, they will do what any human does when they've got too much capital. I.e., when you had too much capital, what did you go do? You thought, fuck it, I'll go and increase my lifestyle costs. Yeah. So companies tend to go and spend money they don't need to on marketing. They spend it on stupid influencers that don't have the engagement. They fucking just waste
like the 3 million quid story. It's like we didn't need £3 million worth of stock.
Yeah. You're almost better. Everybody talks about designing a business that you can sell or exit, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of successful people in the world that have businesses that cash flow for them first, that they never want to fucking sell.
Yeah, it's mint.
And I've listened to a few stories of these kind of businesses. They're just high cash flow businesses, and that's what I do with content removal.
They're the best, yeah.
I don't want to ever sell content removal. I just run it as a high cash flow business. And yeah, I'm not the biggest in the marketplace in terms of like revenue numbers, but I don't give a fuck because it cash flows.
You're almost richer than someone who sold it, because the problem is, like, you've got reliable income coming in constantly where you can spend your money on your whatever you want, and you know it's coming in the next month. Whereas if you sell that company for a lump sum of money, you have to know how to invest that lump sum of money elsewhere to cash flow your lifestyle.
Well, the way I do it is like I have a high fucking margin, like 80-90% profit margin business, right?
Keep your expenses low.
That keep my expenses low. I don't wear no fucking Balenciaga or anything like you guys do, and I don't go and rent the nice car and all this stuff. I just don't do it, right? I just spend the money on educating content with the podcast and trying to put out value to people, because I fucking love having conversations with people like you and getting your stories out there. And then I go and fucking invest it where I want to invest it. I might buy a property or pay off my mortgage or fucking just do what I want with it. But I don't need to worry about it. Because I'm thinking, there was a quote from Naval that fucking stuck with me. Play long-term games with long-term people.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just playing a long-term game. It's like, if you love your ECOM brand, or I love my podcast, what does it matter whether it takes you 5-10 years to get to the goal instead of fucking 2? Why does it have to be in 2 years for?
And that's the thing, like, with me, like, the process of me exiting was, you know, this took a long time. Like, you can't just click your fingers and sell your brand. It can take years, because you're negotiating. And the position, the problem was with me is I had the growth story, 1 million in year 1, 3 million in year 2, 6 million.
You had the perfect
flying.
You had the perfect growth
on
story.
all these people flying. But what happens is, when the shit hits the fan like it did, I've then got 2018, 19, 20, 21 flatlined, 6, 6, 6, 6. And then every single, because you're talking to like extremely high level,
they're looking at you like, what the fuck's this about?
They're like, because obviously I'm like, well, the brand's strong as fuck. And my biggest mistake was, like I said, had to be sold in 2017, latest 2018, because you probably get away with a year of like flat growth because you can play on the story sort of thing. But when I carried on for 4 years, I was like, mate, every single company would be like, well, you haven't grown. And I'd be like, yeah, but there's no fucking profit. Look at my debt. But they know that, but they want to, which is rightly so, it's business. Like, that's how they get to rock bottom sort of prices. And that's why I kept saying no for like, I wanted to sell it. I wanted to sell Hera in 2018, 2019, 2020, 21. And I was in talks with all these brands constantly, but we just could never agree on a price. Ever.
Yeah, because you would have been giving it away.
Yeah, and I was like, no. I was like, fuck it. Like, there's no way. Like, this makes no sense. So,
well, you were in so deep. It's like, I know the word sunk cost fallacy does come to mind, but you're in so deep. It's like, what's the point anyway?
Yeah.
I'm on the fucking floor. It's either going to go bankrupt or it's going to work.
To be fair, my goals to sell the brand was like a lot more. Like, my goal was to sell that brand for like at least like 10 mil. Like, that was my goal in 2018. I was like, we're doing 5 mil, 2 times revenue. Happy days, I'll take 10. That was always my goal, and I was so obsessed with like, I'm only selling it for 10. If no one wants to pay it, then I'll carry on, sort of thing. So I just kept carrying on, and then in, like I said, 2021, talking to things like 5 or 6 companies and stuff at the time. And then obviously I was speaking to Paul as well, along with these 5 other people. Had like all offers and stuff and all that stuff. A couple of them dropped out because of due diligence. They didn't like a couple of things, so they dropped off. And then it was left between, well, one company like till the very last minute, and then Paul pretty much paid more money than they were offering. And then the other one was a sportswear brand, well, not brand, a company on the FTSE 500 £1 billion company. Wanted to buy. They originally they wanted 51% control, and then they were going to put the money in to pay the debt off.
Yeah.
And then no money was going to go to me. It was just like, it was all into the business, and I was going to run the company, which I knew would have happened because, they've got brands similar to mine, and it's, they've had no problems and stuff, so I could trust it.
Someone like the Hut Group.
It wasn't the Hut Group.
Oh, yeah.
It was somewhat similar. And then, so it was like that sort of thing. And then I just couldn't take the risk. I was so exhausted at this point because I was like, I'm just fucking tired. Like, I've got nothing left. And I was like, I've done all this stuff, been through all this stuff for 4 years, grinding.
Because don't forget, in this 4 years, where people forget is the fact of like, you've had the responsibility of paying your staff every week and them looking after their families and their mortgages.
Yeah.
And that's pressure that people don't understand.
Yeah. And then I was just like, and it played in my mind. I was like, because I was at this point, I wanted to cash out. I wanted money in my bank for security. Like, the economy's clearly going to fucking shit. It does not look pretty, like the next 12 months. You know, anything can happen. And it was played on my mind. Like, you know, I've turned down all these big brands like over the years. I was like, don't turn down this fucking offer again. And I was just like, just don't do it. Don't roll the dice. Because like I did with Superdry, rolled the dice, carried on. And then something terribly bad went wrong.
So this is Paul's offer.
Yeah. So in 2021, when it was like, you know, it's, you know, the original offer was would buy 70%, which was perfect. This is how I wanted to angle it with the other brands, and I did. Like, two of them was like, look, you control it. I want 70%. And I'll keep 30%, because the idea was the 30% would make up long term to get me to 10. Because I was like, okay, well, now I can settle with it, because you know what, I accept it. The past 4 years, no growth, ton of debt, still needs rebuilding. It's a fair price.
You rebuild it, I'll exit in a few years.
Yeah, so it's like, happy days. I'll take half of what I want now. Happy days. And then I'll wait for the other half while you rebuild it and put money into it and get Hera back. So I was like, I can settle with that and live with it. So that's what I did. But with one, fuck. with that one, it was just, they tried like to the last fucking weeks. And I was like, nah, I can't do it. Like, unless you offer me money as well to take personally on top of what you're offering, then I can't. I want to just take the money and just like, I'm fucking secure, settled. I can invest that in something else and just move on and keep 30%. Happy days. So I agree with that deal with Paul and stuff. And then and then it was just like, it was mainly like, there's just a few things just like happen. So just like nothing like bad and stuff, like, you know, Paul's a good guy and whatever and all that stuff. But it's just like little things, just like, you know, it's clever. 'Cause there's just a bigger thing I was just seeing. Like, it's just like, you know, when all the Drapers articles come out and all the press and the PR, which, you know, it's tactical, it's clever. Like, you know, they're saying, you know, don't, you know, release anything. We're doing it and all this stuff. It's all professional and we'll do it properly. But then my name's not mentioned in a single article, like, at all, like, not a single thing. Then even like, you know, on the homepage, on the About Us page and stuff, like, my name's not on there at all, but Paul's is. So it's just like, it did piss me off, because it's just like, you know, you spent 8 years building a brand and just like, you know, it's just disrespectful. In my opinion, it's just like, you've kind of like destroyed, like, there's no need to like destroy the truth and the story of the brand you've bought. Like, it's an unbelievable story. You should play on it. Like, you don't have to like sing my name to the heavens. I'm just saying, like, just acknowledge it and just at the bare minimum sort of thing, and just like accept that is the brand's history and you've bought at this point, and now you're creating the next story of the next Hera. And just like, you know, because especially with consumers and stuff, like, they want to know that they know what the brand and stuff, they know what's happened and stuff. So it's very hard to hide history, what's been around for so long. But I mean, it is what it is, sort of thing. So it's like kind of I suppose
at the end of the day, I mean, everyone can have an opinion one way or the other on that. But I suppose as soon as you've sold something, you can't have an opinion on what's done with it next.
No, 100%.
And it's kind of like, and as harsh as that seems, it's like, you know, if I fucking did sold this and this, and like someone does something else with it, it's like, yeah, there's some things that could be done with certain things that I own that would piss me off. But it's like, but once you sell it, you sell your opinion as well.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I'm just saying, in my opinion, disagree with like removing 8 years of history. What's Hera's story now?
Yeah, I don't. Well,
no one fucking knows. Like, why don't you bought it? What happened for the last 8 years? Like, there's no history. Yeah. There's what's the meaning? Like, what's the story and what's the purpose behind it?
Yeah, and the brand itself works so well because of the story.
1,000,000%.
Because it was grown out of the bedroom and everything like that, and that's the essence of what you brought to it.
Yeah,
I think that's why you could still, because you had built such a strong brand in terms of the ethos and the quality in the early days of what you were doing. I remember how much better quality your jeans were than anything else we'd seen at that time. In the early days when I was back in England, 2015, it's like a couple of my mates had a pairs. It's like that's what carried you to be able to flatline 6 mil, 6 mil, 6 mil, 6 mil. Because without that culture that you'd built in those early days, mate, cult following.
Our repeat customer rate
was mental.
Massive. So it's just like, it just shows you had an unbelievable product and loyal customers. Like that's what we had, a very loyal base. We didn't acquire any new customers really. We were just relying on our current customers, constantly reordering. So that's how we survived for like 3 years. But and then obviously, I think it was about 3 weeks sort of went by. It was like quite maybe 3 or 4 weeks sort of thing, and I was like seeing like, you know, what they're bringing out on like social media and stuff, and the branding of it and stuff, and without going like into too much detail and stuff, like I just didn't. In my opinion,
this is when you still had a piece in.
Yeah, 30%. Just like, in my opinion, I think you're getting this terribly, terribly wrong, and I just don't agree with it. And I've spoke to Paul, I was like, look, can we just meet and just speak? And I was like, look, is this genuinely? I just need to know, like, do you genuinely think this is good and this is the brand direction you're going to go down? And he was like, yeah, this is, you know, it's what it is. And he didn't see what I was seeing, which worried me, because I was like, okay, if you don't see what I'm seeing, then that's in my opinion, in branding is a big problem, because it's just like, you're kind of like not seeing, like, it's hard to explain, like, you're not seeing like how obviously bad like that is, like what direction, what you kind of route you're going down from what it is. But it's just, again, it's my opinion. Like, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. That's just the way my brain thinks. That's what, from my take on it. And, you know, I might be wrong. It might be great. But from my perspective, owning, you know, 30% of it, I just didn't feel. And even pre-deal, I was like iffy about like keeping 30%, because like Paul's mentioned on previous podcasts and stuff, like, you know, he's not involved in Hera. Like, he is just a helicopter's approach, he's calling it, in terms of like, you know, he's just overlooking his daughters running the company. So just like, I'm not buying in to Paul, who built Gymshark with Ben. It's like, he's not in the day-to-day running. He's just bought it for his daughters to run and, you know, do. So it's just like, it's very different sort of thing. So it's just like, you're relying on them getting it right.
I think when it comes to, from the people that I've spoken to, when it comes to doing deals where you've built a brand and you got it to a certain point, you have to fully exit.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
There's no question about it in my mind. I've spoken to enough entrepreneurs to know that every single entrepreneur that exits and leaves a percentage in there regrets leaving a percentage in there.
Yeah, and what people
got no control of what happens to that brand.
I mean, I knew what I was signing up to, but at the same time, I didn't realise the execution was going to be bad, in my opinion. So it's just like, you know, I was happy and content, like, with just being silent, like, not involved. If the other fast fashion owner took it over and stuff, then, you know, it would have gone in a way different brand. I know they'd have nailed the branding. So it's just like, because they know what streetwear is, they know how to make things cool, they know influencers, they get it. And it's just like, you know, these lot don't. So it's just like, that's kind of like why I was just like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable taking that much risk, and I just wanted to clean break. And also there's downsides, like, you know, you're restricted. Like,
when you exit the 30% early though, do you get a penalty on the fee that you exit on? No,
so I was so smart in like the contract negotiations and stuff, because I'm like so aware of like legal shit in terms of like all my past with all the legal stuff. Like, I know all the fucking things you need to put in and stuff. So I put in a contingency. Like, when I said to you earlier, I was like, you know, I'll take the chance that I'll keep 30%, but I literally put a clause in where I was just like, you know, if I decide to sell in the next 12 months, I could just take it at this exact price whenever I want within like 2 weeks or whatever. And that was the clause I put in.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I could exit. And it's a very clean. And Paul's, like, he's a sound guy. Like, it is what it is. Like,
yeah, Paul's sound.
It's like, you know, he stuck to his word throughout that deal. It all went right. Happy. He's got what he wants. I got what I wanted. It was a very clean, professional, probably the most professional person I've dealt with in terms of like negotiating and actually getting a deal over the line. So it's all worked out. I've left Hera completely. They can run it. There's no animosity. There's nothing. It's like I've got a clean break. I don't have to agree with the branding anymore because I don't have my say. I fully support the brand. I want to do the best it can possibly do with them running it, and I wish them all the best. I want them, to carry on the brand and make it as big as possible. But I know obviously with Paul wants to get it to like 100 million in 3 years. Has every chance it should do that. Like the brand has the potential to do that 1 million%. The Paul's business experience and knowledge 1 million% should be doing that. The money Paul has, hundreds of millions, to pump into that brand to get Hera to 100 million, should do that. Even if they got it to 30 million and acquired another brand, they could hit 100 mil valuation quite easily.
Yeah.
They can get there.
Yeah.
But it's whether, in my opinion, they can get the branding right. And it simply comes down to, like the Superdry story, they get Hewan in, a suit from Co-op, CEO, coming in, but they don't understand the brand.
Yeah.
Julian comes back 2 years later. It can get ruined.
It comes back to culture.
Yep.
It always comes in any brand. It always comes back to the culture of the brand.
You can know business inside out, and you can be the best and have all the money. But if you don't understand brand, and you don't understand, and you can't see.
Well, it's not just brand. If you don't understand the cult customer, because it's the cult customer that tells their friends to go and buy a pair.
Yeah.
That's and your cult customer probably at Hera accounted for 30 or 40% of the fucking audience was repeat customers.
Yeah.
Right. So like those people are who you need to fucking please, because those are the people that are telling 4 people in the pub, these jeans are from Hera, go and buy these. Oh, trust me, mate. I told you last week to go and get a pair of these.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing Hera for like 8 years. I know it inside out.
Yeah,
so it's just, do you know what I mean? Like, I know the customer.
Yeah, no,
I'm the customer.
No. What I'm saying,
not you. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I'm just saying that's the piece that you can't.
And you can think of all the business stuff in the world, but the reality of it is, you have to convince that 18 to 26-year-old that they want to be seen wearing a Hera logo on a t-shirt. That's all it is. Yeah. And if you fail to do that, you're fucked. Like and that's brand. Like if you don't want to be seen in your logo, you're done. So it's like branding is so important, and you can easily screw it up by putting out content which does not correlate to the brand, which is cool, and it can be destroyed very quickly. But it's just one of the things, just where time will tell, sort of thing.
Yeah, mate, and that's it. And in a world full of opinions, the only opinion that matters is the one that lands on the profit side of the balance sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the only opinion that actually matters. Because my opinion doesn't matter, yours doesn't matter, not even Paul's matters really. Because at the end of the day, it's like, has the brand gone from 6 million to 12? Has it gone from 6 million to 8? Yeah, that tells us everything you need to know. Has the profitability gone up? Yeah. Who gives a fuck else about any other opinion? Yeah. If people are buying it, that tells you everything you need to know. And
that's what, like you said, that's why I just completely just like sold, because it's like there's no fucking stress now.
There's
no stress. We don't, we still talk. Me and Paul was just like sound. Like
he might even
we have our spats. Like I'm not gonna lie, me and Paul, like we clash at times. We clash, but we always end up making up and just blah blah, and then it's all fine. But it is what it is, sort of thing. But
the only reason there would be a clash is because he has a vision. Yeah. You have a vision, and the visions don't align.
Yeah,
but that's just business in general. Paul's lived 16 of our lives in business, and what Paul's achieved in business is fucking nuts. Phenomenal entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's nuts.
Phenomenal entrepreneur, and for me on a personal level, to go and sit down with him and see everything, not just see what he's hear his stories, but like seeing what he's built. Obviously, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Like for me and you, from a personal level, and it's mad because in the age that me and you live, and our demographic age group, and how we see it all on Instagram these days. But like when you see real G's, you're like, okay, this is real. Same with Alan Barrett, mate.
Yeah, I bet.
Alan Barrett, Paul Richardson, real entrepreneurs, real money. Real shit.
It's like something out of Fast and Furious when I went to Paul's house.
Yeah,
it's just got
fucking. It's
crazy.
Yeah, fuck yeah, absolute scenes. But in terms of like now you've exited, and you seem like, to me anyway, from what you've told me, you seem like you're in the best place.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Yeah, I'm just at peace with it. I know before the podcast you said, like, what's it like selling your brand, like, and all this stuff? It's like, it's absolutely fine. Like because, like I said, I think I checked out
a lot earlier.
2000. Man, I've been checked out 5 years, 4 years. I'm not going anywhere. So like,
you knew that the day before you started the 4 years.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not bothered. I haven't gone anywhere in 4 years. I'm not. Great. I don't want to do it. Like, please just take the fucking brand and pump money into it and just do something with it, because I can't do it anymore. So just like I wanted the cash, and I just wanted to like just get this brand fucking going.
If you make the right moves, which I know you will, with that cash, and you build the right.
Oh, 1,000,000%. That's the thing. Like,
you've set yourself up, haven't you,
bro? Like, I watch a ton of YouTube, and for years I've watched like S&P 500 index funds, cryptocurrency. Yeah. I'm very up to date with all that stuff, and that's been like the past years. I read Tony Robbins' books and just clued up with how to manage money and how to invest money. So I kept zero money in the bank. Like, as soon as that money hit, I knew exactly where I'm putting it straight away.
Allocated it all, because
it's just like hindsight, because obviously everything's fucking crashed. It's like, wasn't great. And
but you're not looking short term.
No, in hindsight, it's funny because obviously with inflation and stuff, everyone's like, you need to fucking put your cash in the bank. You're burning 10% with inflation or whatever. You need to fucking invest it. But any stock, Shopify down 60+%. All of them, like all the tech companies down. Cryptocurrency obliterated. So it's just like, yeah, I invested the money, went down loads, but obviously it's starting to slowly like recover now and stuff. But
mate, there'll be ups and downs. But at the end of the day, you've allocated the capital that you don't need for your day-to-day life. You're building cash flow businesses on the back of it. It's like, you're a long-term player now.
100%. Like, that's the thing with like cryptocurrency and stuff. It's like, I know what I'm signing up to. Like, I know it's going to go down 20-30% in a day. I know it's also going to go up 100% in a couple of days. So It's all psychology and stuff. So like with this money and stuff, like, yes, gone down like over half, but it's like, great, I know I can stomach it because I've actually gone through it now. So it's just like, great. But because I haven't, what people do is they cash out, panic, then they fucking lost their money. But if you just keep it and just leave it and just forget about it, which I've done.
I don't sell nothing.
Yeah, I don't. And then just keep it. And then long term, it's going to go up. But the way I see it is like, as long as I've got enough money monthly to live off, I don't give a fuck if it goes down 80%. Because like, it doesn't matter.
Do you know, one of the biggest lessons I learned in life from a top guy who taught me this. He's like, Frankie, never, ever, 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 ever. I want to teach you something. He goes, I've never, ever, ever not regretted selling any asset that I've owned. So what am I telling you? Never, ever, ever sell anything that's an asset.
Yeah.
So I have an apartment I paid off when I was fucking 30, right? Just sits there, earns me rental, rah. A couple of months ago, I thought, fuck it, I should sell that and go and do this with it. I'm like, then I remember the conversation. It's like, would you regret selling that?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Like, I would. Like, just it doesn't cost me anything just to sit there. So let it just sit there. Go and make more money to go and buy other things that you want to buy.
Yeah.
Like, don't sell assets to buy what you perceive as another asset. It's just stupid. Like, no one does that.
Yeah.
No one with top money does that.
And the thing is, like, what I found with obviously selling and stuff, like 1,000,000% got the money, great. But after a month or 2 months, like, it started to really hurt my head. Whereas like, I'm so fucking bored. Like, you need to have work. Like, you have to wake up and put your mind into something to build something. Like, it's like playing a PlayStation game. Like, when you're bored, you play FIFA because it distracts your brain from being bored. So like, that's what I do with businesses and stuff. Like, I have to be putting my mind into building something just to keep me sane. So it's just like, that's why I've built, currently I've been working on for the past like few months, like ashwhite.com, where it's like an e-learning business where it helps basically anyone with a fashion brand, like startups and stuff, where it's broken down as like, it's a monthly subscription where they can sign up, and then it's literally video content of me explaining, like, in each module, like finance, how debt works, how to grow a business, legal stuff, all the stuff I went through and all the mistakes I made. The knowledge. Yeah. 8 years worth of knowledge. I got sued by Levi's because I didn't understand trademarking. All these things like are all in this course. So it's just like, I put it all in these things, which I'm so proud of because it's fucking amazing. There's like done for you calculators and stuff. So all they have to do is just type in. It's a basic thing down an Excel spreadsheet. It's already done for them. They type in the product, their cost price, and how much they're buying it from the factory, and it will spit out the formula, their gross profit margin, and it teaches them how all this links to their P&L sheets, and they can get a very very great understanding of actually how the business is running and set up properly. Like I didn't have Hera set up for years properly because I didn't understand it. Yeah. So, hopefully, people can look at, that I've got, credibility that, I've done it sort of thing. And they can obviously watch.
I'm on your fucking webpage.
Yeah. Yeah. So doing that. And then that's like a side thing. Like I wanted to get that up and running. That's not what my passion is. It's like, that's just a side project I've done.
You're giving back, you're creating subscription cash flow. It's a great model for you to start again and keep yourself busy.
And it's like I put my mind into it. It's like I've actually built a website, I've learned e-learning, I've spent money on being coached by Grant Cardone. It's one of the first things I spent money on. I spent 80 grand to be coached by Grant.
What, personally?
Personally, yeah.
Yeah, how was that? How is Grant?
He's a fucking legend.
Yeah?
A legend, yeah.
So what did he teach you?
So like with him, like you can get like 1 hour coaching session sort of thing. So it's like, because I'm going into the e-learning space, he's built £100 million a year e-learning business.
Yeah.
£100 million a year. Grant Cardone makes
from Cardone University.
Yeah, 100 mil.
Quality.
Per year. And it's 100% gross margin. It's one of the best business models in the world, and it's one of the fastest growing business models in the world. Like, I think it's going to be.
I actually really want to go into this space because I think I've got a lot to give.
Yeah, because I think it's going to be worth like 500 billion by 2026. So like, the world's going there. As long as you've got credibility, you've got social proof, and you've actually got something you can sell, and you can actually provide unbelievable value for them to learn off, then it will work. And I've got full on. That ashwhite.com thing, I've got massive plans for that. Like, I've got a full-on like acquisition strategy. We're going to pump a ton of money into acquisition and the whole arbitrage thing to make that thing big. So, that's going on, and that's all coming into play now over the next 3 to 4 months. And then the long-term play is like, I want to create another clothing brand, but I want to do like a luxury clothing brand, like price points are like sort of like Palm Angel sort of thing. Like that sort of like price point.
What Reese does. Reese he does Reese. What's his surname? Wambara.
No, he does MDV. So he's like fast fashion, not fast fashion, but like that sort of like a Hera price point.
Yeah.
But I want to go into. I want to play to my now because I see business a lot differently, and I do the maths first before I go into a business sort of thing.
So you're basically what you're saying
reverse engineering
you reverse engineering, and you kind of seeing where how profitable would I be if I had this product rather than just starting an ecom brand. I like it.
So I do it now. I see. I started Hera when I was 19.
Yeah.
Now I'm got all that experience. Now I'm starting my next clothing brand at 28 with all this knowledge and experience. So now I'm going into it thinking, right, my weaknesses, I do not want to build a brand which requires tons of staff because I hate it. Like, I don't like managing people. I couldn't think of anything worse. That's why with Hera, even if I stayed, like, I'd be capped because I could not get it to 20, 40, 50, 100 million because it requires hundreds of staff. And it's like, that would be my worst nightmare sort of thing. So with like higher priced products like luxury clothing, if you're selling a hoodie for 600 quid and jeans for £600, you can acquire a lot less customers to hit 100 million in revenue. So I require less staff.
And I suppose with those limited edition pieces, you could do them in drops. So you could do them in drops for like 100, 200, and then that commands the premium.
Yeah, but like these kids are still
Tommy
buying.
Mallet is a wizard. What he's done with Mallet footwear, amazing branding, amazing fucking what he's done.
Yeah, and even like these luxury brands like Palm Angels, for example, mate. You see kids everywhere. Festivals. I went to watch Paddy the Baddy the other day at UFC. It was like Palm Angels was like fucking uniform there. Like everyone, I'd see Palm Angels everywhere scattered across that stadium, like people wearing it. So it's like, they're charging like £200, £300 a t-shirt, £600 a hoodie. Yeah. So it's just like, that target market will still save up enough to buy a streetwear brand, which is aspirational, but it requires a lot of work and a lot of money to pump in to make what I want to do successful.
Yeah.
I've got a strategy to do it.
Yeah,
I think I will. I know I will do it. But yeah, it's just
you got all the experience and all the tools to be able to go and execute on it.
Yeah,
and it's exciting for me because we're doing this podcast now, and then it'd be great to do these podcasts along your journey of you building this brand.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I think it's really insightful to the audience to get your different perspectives of how your vision's evolved as you build this stuff.
I think I'll have quite a few eyeballs on it as well to see if I can do it again, sort of thing. But it's one of those things, taking it slow. It's just like, the problem is, like with me, it's like, because you've got because when I was 19, you didn't know what's ahead of you because you've never done it before. Now I'm doing it again. I know what's already ahead of me. So like it does put you off a little bit because it's like, do I really want to sign myself up to doing this again? And then like,
would you have it any other way?
Yeah, I know I'm going to do it, but I'm just doing it at my own time when it feels right. Like I'd be working on my laptop at 10 o'clock at night, just on keynotes, just playing around with stuff, and that's because I enjoy it. But if the next day I'm like, I don't want to do it, I just switch off. I'm not doing it, and I'll leave it for a month, and then I'll come back to it. It has to feel natural, and that's how I'm doing it. So
there's that's dropped on me today. It's like how late notice was us doing this podcast. It was like it's today, right?
Yeah.
It's today, and we actioned it, and you drove here, and I'm set up, and I've dropped things, you've dropped things, and you're going on holiday tomorrow. Like, but at the end of the day, right? It's because, but what I realised was I love the journey of this podcast, and I love every rep that I'm doing, and for so long, mate, and in so many business things or money things or anything I've done, I've always tried to rush to this fucking end goal.
Yeah.
And now it dawned on me today, I'm finally in a place where I'm just happy to do what I love to do.
Yeah. And
it doesn't matter if I get to 400k on YouTube in 3 years, 5 years, or fucking 10 years.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. I'll get there. It just all I've got to do is keep doing the reps.
That's funny. Like I've sold Hera, but I'm trying to recreate another brand to go back into what I've just left, because it shows you need to be working every day. You need to be doing stuff.
Well, people once you retire in your mind or in body, you die. You're dead. You're dead. Like you should. Retirement isn't even the goal. It should never be the goal. The goal should be to work in an area in your life that you're most fulfilled. That's it. That's the goal. Not happiness. Not solely money, but like, because the money will come from working on something that fulfills you. Money will come from that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. That's the game. There's no other game.
Yeah, 100%.
I kind of realised it a long time ago. If you were going to if you had to leave the planet, right, and you had to drop one final piece of wisdom on the world from the learnings that you've had in your life, from the deepest, darkest moments that you've been through, and you can't leave nothing. You can't leave the Lambo. You can't leave nothing. You just got to leave some pieces of wisdom. What would that wisdom be to you, Ash?
I think for business, from looking at from everything that's happened, is like, wow, my biggest mistake was trusting people. So like, it's very difficult for me because obviously the way that was done. But in terms of like, you just got to be very careful in business, and like everyone, you can get fucked so easily. So just make sure you just have a very good legal, solicitor and stuff. Get a very strong contract, and just really like just protect yourself, and don't be naive. If it's too good to be true, it is. And just seriously, like, just protect yourself first. And remember, like, when you have the leverage and stuff, like, it's easy for them to, build trust with you. And they'll do all sorts of tactics, like stay at their house, builds trust. Go to the boxing, builds trust. And all these tactics, like, there's so many things they can do. And then all of a sudden you think your mates.
You got a mate.
And then behind the scenes, it's all tactical. Like, it's to build trust, and then they're fucking you in the background. So it's just like, mate, I've seen all sorts go on. So it's just like, you just got to be so careful. And that's the thing I'd say.
And how dark an industry is ECOM? Like, it's a dark industry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really hard. Yeah, it's tough because there's so many moving parts. Like, it's so hard. Like, anyone with any e-com business or fashion brand, like, there's so many moving parts. What you have to do, you have to be good at marketing, advertising. Then you got to buy physical product, stock, import it. Fulfillment, and brilliant. All this stuff is like, there's so much stuff going on constantly. Like, it's very hard,
mate. I just want to say, like, what you've been through, the stuff you've distilled in terms of like the mental health and all that stuff, and being in them dark places. And I know at some points during this podcast, you've even been choked up a bit talking about some of that. I can see it in your eyes. And I know how much it's meant to you, and I just appreciate you coming and telling this story on this podcast, because I know how much the audience is going to get from what you've just distilled, mate. Because in that 3-hour podcast is
3 hours.
3-hour podcast. In this 3-hour podcast, there is so much gold, and here is what I ask from you guys in return, right? If this has hit your ears at the right time, if it's added the value that I know it should have added to you, I'm telling you now, it should have added a hell of a lot of value to you, especially if you're an e-commerce entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, someone who's struggled in life. Do me a solid favor, yeah? Share it on whatever platform you listen to, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Drop a comment, drop a review on the podcast. Message me and Ash, let us know how you found it in terms of like what you've got from it and everything like that. We'd really appreciate it. And just absolutely help me send this podcast into the next stratosphere. Me and Ash both put a lot of money and time into educating you and hopefully putting wisdom in your ears. And yeah, thank you so much, mate.
No, really appreciate it. It's been mint.
And much love, guys. Stay tuned.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie Lee Podcast.